Oh, I forgot to do the intro bit. I just popped up on your screen like nobody's business. Hello, one and all. Welcome, welcome. All right, we're going to finally find out today, and this has been my goal for the last several days. I'm under the weather, so we're going to be gentle about this. We're going to be gentle about this. Oh, did I not type it in there? I guess I didn't. Woo. Not feeling the best. It's been more than, oh no, what's happening? What am I missing over here? What am I missing over here? Oh gosh, general voice chat. Gosh almighty, okay. Alrighty. So we're going to find out today. Today we're going to find out where these beards came from, all right? And that has been the mystery that we have been trying to figure out for weeks now. Literally for weeks. Well, no, it is actually literally weeks. It's been 2 weeks. It's been 2 weeks of us trying to figure out where these where the beards came from. Why are Jehovah's Witness elders why are Jehovah's Witness governing body members suddenly sprouting beards? Okay, now it was announced back in 2023. It was announced in December last year that they would be suddenly wearing beards. And today we're going to, well, the plan was anyway, to watch that media and see what we could glean from it, and also play a little bit of bingo. Now, I am not going to be on for very long today. I'm definitely not going to be on for very long today. I am already regretting having gone live. My stomach is not agreeing with me at all, but I was determined to figure out what's going on with these fucking beards. So let's do it. So I'm going to pop it on my... Oh. No, that's not going to work. All right, I'll have to download it. That's fine. What is going on? I don't need that.
Welcome, dear brothers and sisters.
Did we have to start straight away? I don't know why it does this. Fine, make the world log into Twitch when it's just getting to nap time on the East Coast. I wasn't really expecting you all to join today. I'm not going to line, Kim. Thank you for joining. I do appreciate you joining. But I had sort of thought today I would just, yeah. I was pretty sure no one was gonna be joining me today, but feel free to nap and listen at the same time. Just have me on in the corner quietly while you nap. I won't complain, I promise. I didn't sleep last night, just to give you the lowdown, just so you understand where I'm coming from. So I want an easy time of it. Yes, always, if possible, go easy on me. I'm a big Suki Lala. No, I didn't sleep last night. I was laying in bed, and I kid you not, I was laying in bed watching the sun come up, thinking to myself, and like, my house is gorgeous, right? And where my house is located is lovely. I live in a really lovely location. So I'm laying in my bedroom, and I always have the windows wide open, like the blinds wide open, so that when the sun's coming in, it's filtering through. And there's this huge big tree right outside my window in like a neighboring house, neighbor's property. And every morning, like I could hear the birds going off in the tree. And so much for my spending all morning thinking about housing in the fuck capital. I was doing that too, don't get me wrong. But I was laying there listening to the birds waking up, and I thought to myself, I wonder if I could just get a couple of hours in before I have to go live. And I then laid there until 10 o'clock before I admitted it wasn't going to happen. And so I decided to get up and start my day. And I did not close my eye. I did not sleep a wink last night. I did not sleep a wink. Could not fall asleep. I got up at 2, I think, to have a shower. I thought that might help. Nope. Could not sleep. Yesterday I just had a really bad day. Like, I just did not, when you just have a down day and you're just feeling like you're in a bit of a slump. That was me yesterday. Hello. Hi, guys. Thank you. Jump over onto, where are we? We're on Twitter, we're on Twitch, or we're on YouTube at the moment, either or, and I can see your comments, though all the cool kids hang out on Twitch. We aren't on Twitter. No, nobody's saying he's on Twitter. No. Don't you love that about your cats, though? I had both of my cats cuddling up on me last night, and I could tell it was because they were trying to get me to relax and go to sleep, because one of my cats in particular does not come up above my knees to sleep. She insists on sleeping down the other end of the bed. And the other little cat will sleep wherever. Like, he really will sleep wherever, but he doesn't like to be touching me. Like, he'll be right next to me, but like just, just there. Last night I had him laying on me and her curled up under my arm, and I was like, okay, so the cats know that I'm out of sorts. But aren't they good for that? Aren't cats good for that? Yeah. I did just have, when I came stumbling out here before to make a coffee, I had little Ninja sitting by the door whinging at me to open the door, and I was like, yeah, okay, I probably should have done that when I got up this morning to open up the blinds. I like to get up and open up the blinds first before I go and do my morning, ablutions and whatnot. Just so I come out here and it's nice and light and bright. And I usually open the cat door at the same time, but I didn't this morning. And when I did come out here, he was sitting there crying, full on crying. She was not, he was not. I keep misgendering that poor cat, honestly. My kids keep getting really mad at me for it too, because that poor cat, honestly, is going to think that he's a she. But any hoozles. So, yes, as I said, was not. Cats don't care. Cats don't give a shit. No. They're humbling creatures. I will say, though, it has done wonders for my mental health, having the cats to care for, especially because I think the reason I've been struggling so much, and like this weekend was hard. The kids are with their dad. They've been with their dad since Friday. So I did Easter without them. I did last Easter without them. And last Easter was the Easter I found out that my husband had been cheating on me for over a year with his 18-year-old co-worker. So he'd cheated before, and we worked and moved past it. Like, people cheat, it happens. No. And we had worked through it before, and we'd got through it before. His attitude towards it sucked shit, though. Like, I don't think he ever really, he never really fully accepted what he'd done. Like, it just became this thing we didn't talk about. And then when he did it this time, and it was with this young girl, I was just like, no, you're actually a skeezy, scummy person. Like, you can't do that to a child. Like, she's still a teenager. She's still a fucking teenager. Like, oh my God, still a fucking teenager. Anyway, yeah, so that all happened last year, and then, yeah, they're not here at the moment. And I found I really struggle when the kids aren't here with me. I do. I know I'm not one of those like clingy mums. Like, I'm very much like, I'm a mum who pushes independence on my kids, and I really like I encourage them to go and do stuff by their own. They ride their bikes between me and their dad's house. Their dad and I live, like, he lives on the next block. Like, he lives on that block that I can point to there. He lives on that block across the road from me, just around the corner. And I let them ride back and forth between his and my houses. Fine. Like, I call him and say the kids are on the way, like, stay on the way till they get there. I don't want them knowing I'm freaking out. Yeah, it's upending of the normal. And it's also, I do miss them a lot. Like, they're pretty cool people to hang around. And since the split, my kids, especially my older one, has pretty much slept in bed with me every night, except when they're at their dad's house. So, and it's, again, like, he only gets them for 1 week of the holidays, and I get them for the second week, and I get to do just as much cool, fun stuff with them. Like, I'm taking them up to Perth, and we're going to go visit Nanny, and we're going to go swim in her pool, and we're going to have an awesome time, and it's going to be great. But yeah, like, in the meantime, I'm just in my little slump that I get in when my kids aren't here. That's all. And I had a bit of a disagreement with a friend as well on Monday, a very good friend, someone I'm very, I feel very close with. And I you know, when you're in that sort of funny place with someone, you don't know how to handle it either. And you're just like, I'm not ready to deal with that right now. Like, I'm in the same position with my brother as well. Like, these are with some of the people that feels. These are some of the people that I lean on a lot for stuff. And when you're in a funny place with people, you're like, I don't have the head space to touch that right now, like with what I'm going through. So I can't reach out to you right now. I actually felt I'm going to throw up talking about this. Let's talk about the beards instead. Let's talk about the beards. Oh, the anxiety vomit. Like when I start getting so anxious, I feel nauseous. That's why I'm on the meds. Anywho, something that, again, JWs were not about to do. Beards. Yes, thank you. Keep me on track. Beards. Let's find out what the fuck is going on with these fucking beards. Now, we're back with Rubber Face Let. Now, if you all remember from our last... thank you. Goodness me. Oh, yeah, that's right. I forgot about that. Whereabouts on my direct messages? I can't see my direct. Oh, which app? I should have asked that before I just went looking, shouldn't I? Anyway, that's okay. I'm guessing I can look at it later, or do I need to look at it now? Something beeped. Oh, Discord. It is on the Discord. I was looking on the Discord. There we go. I found it. Oh. I was going to say, you are absolutely 100% allowed to come on if you'd like to in any way, shape or form that you'd like to. Absolutely you do not need to feel pressured in any way, shape or form though either. Sorry, I'm blathering on a bit because I always talk for a little bit at the beginning of these things, and I'm just feeling a bit discombobulated today. You know, I'm feeling a little bit, you know, but I will be fine. No, honestly, I do appreciate that. I absolutely do appreciate that. But I do think of this more as a community space, and that's, you know, something that I'm not always the best at. Not always the best at it, but I am trying, and I appreciate all the support. Shall we watch some J-Dub footage and find out what's going on with all the beards? Shall we? It's just us here. It's just us here. I do appreciate you. Thank you very much. I do appreciate that. And honestly, if you do want to pop up, like, go for gold. Yeah, let's find out. Maybe they will. Oh, God, hang on. I got to turn that volume down, though, his voice. For anyone who isn't aware, on my TikTok, for everyone who's watching, you need to join us over on Twitch or YouTube if you actually want to watch the video. We're watching Brother Let, who we used to refer to in my family as Brother Rubberface because his face is very expressive when he talks. And the way he says young ones, like there was a book called Young People Ask, Questions and Answers. And whenever he would talk about this book, he would go, young ones. Like it was just, rubber-faced old man Let. And he's just got such a funny way of saying it. And it's a bit of a thing in the XJW community, ribbing the way that Brother Let talks, in all honesty. Rubber-faced old man Let, absolutely. I keep hearing funny noises, and I'm worried that my computer's telling me that I'm not doing something right. Oh, well, that's fine. Let's go.
Update. We'd like to begin with a brief report about some of the disasters that...
We didn't pull the bingo up. I didn't pull the bingo up. After all that, I didn't pull the bingo up. Like, really? After all that, I didn't. It really is brief. That was so quick. I didn't even pull the bingo up after all that. I think we might skip the bingo for today just because I'm hoping it's not going to be in the typical fashion of their typical videos where they're going to blather on for 2 hours about the exact same things they do in every other video they produce. But that's probably... you get a pass because Lord Savory M isn't here. If it wasn't for M, we wouldn't get anything done. Honestly. And I got into a little bit of trouble because I wasn't paying attention to my instructions on Monday, and I need to remember. Emery knows what's going on. Emery's the one paying attention. I am so never paying attention. You know, chaos queen. All right, let's go. Let's go. We wouldn't get things done, but things isn't what you do on the street. No. And the question is, are we actually going to find out about these beards? And without Emery here, that question remains to be seen, really. We could get through an 8-hour stream trying to watch this 20-minute video and never find out about the fucking beards. Probably not. Exactly. Exactly. I can imagine them watching this back too and just being like, you bastards, you tried to do the beards without me. As I said, I was going to do a live yesterday, but couldn't get out of bed. So we're here. We're doing it. I really, as I said, was nearly not going to do it today either. But I was like, no, it's probably good for me to come out and chat with people, especially people who, you know, share similar values and get off like flicking through the internet and hearing about how bad things have gotten everywhere, you know? Beards. Something that has absolutely no consequences at all, but these people are going to make an absolutely monumental mountain out of this little molehill, this storm in a teacup. There is definitely some hidden shit. There is absolutely definitely some hidden shit. But most of the hidden shit you never find out as a regular J-dub, so it stays real hidden. But yeah, like they like to drum this up, and this is the thing. We've now spent how many hours trying to figure out what's going on with the fucking beards, only because I'm the only one who cares about it. I know I'm the only person who cares about it. I am aware. I'm aware that since nobody else was raised in this bullshit cult, nobody else is worried about what's going on with these beards, but I am very obsessed. Oh, yeah, see, that's the whole reason I didn't go live, just because I knew people had assignments, people had stuff to do. You know, it was all for the common good. Oh, just bought a coffee cup in the size, I don't know what that means. Is it this is my Melanie Harver cup, TikTok. Honestly, does that not describe every single assignment ever, though? Like, you know, when I joked about when I got my bachelor's in poli-sci, because every single one of my essays I wrote for poli-sci, I wrote the night before it was due, and I got a high distinction in every single one. And I called it my bachelor's of attendance because I do so much reading on this stuff that I could just write it all in one night, no problems. My law ones took a lot fucking longer, and I did not get a high distinction. Like, I think I got a high distinction on one of those papers. Like, they were so much fucking harder. But I did get a high distinction in the hardest fucking class because I was determined. I was fucking determined. Yeah. Yep. Yep. And honestly, I kind of feel like I remember when I was younger and I was at school and people would say to me, you know, you can't just keep skating by forever. It's not going to be this easy for you forever. And I'm just sitting here going, I'm still waiting. Like, I'm doing my master's and I'm still waiting for it to get hard. Like, I'm waiting for that part where you all go, you're going to have to, you know, like, I don't know. Maybe it's just because I enjoy studying. I enjoy reading. I don't know, nerd. But yeah, it's just, and I love puzzling, you know? Fundamental breakdown, fuck school. Yeah, schooling does suck. Yeah, yep. And I think that is one thing I will say is that looking back at some of my writing that I wrote in that undergrad now, I have been a little bit embarrassed by how thin some of the stuff was that I wrote. You know? Like, there has been some of the papers I looked back on, I went, oh, I won't brag about writing that one because I don't know if I would have given that an HD if I was my tutor. Like, having like completed another degree since then and, you know, doing a master's, I'm like, oh, some of the quality of my work was shit. Tulip Beaches, no. I'm doing my master's at the moment. The beards are the Jehovah's Witnesses. Again, we're making mountains out of molehills over on the jw.org, and we've made a big song and dance about the fact that people are now allowed to wear beards, and we're trying to find out the reasoning on why that is. A learnt skill that was never passed on. Yeah. And you know, I think that is one thing the cult was really good for, I will say, is that from a very young age, I had a pen and paper in my hand taking notes at meetings, because that's the way my mum kept us busy, was telling us to write down every time they said a scripture, and write the talk out in our own words. And so I'd be listening for him to say things, and I'd write down the point that he made, like in my own words, like that shorthand. And that's what I do now. Whenever I'm listening to lectures or whenever I'm reading something, I'll just quickly jot down the notes in my own words. And then later, as I'm reading back through it, I know that I've pretty much already used my own words in it. So I will go back and make sure that I'm not plagiarizing anything, but I don't have to worry too much because I know I've already rephrased it all. So, and I'm one of those weird people too, who I do make notes whenever I'm just reading for fun. Like at the moment, I'm reading a dozen different books at the moment. But I was specifically reading a paper on the economics of decriminalizing most of the thing that we criminalize. I was looking at the economic consequences of that. And I'm just reading it, like taking notes like a little loser. Yeah. Yep. And that is one thing that the J-dubs were, I will say, I'm not going to say they were good for, but it was one thing that it did give me, was it gave me that discipline. I had to have done my pre-study. I had to have answers prepared. I had to give presentations. I had to, like, it was homework on top of homework. So my life when I was in school was very busy. Like, you know, I was going to meetings. We had 5 meetings a week. We had to go 3 times a week. There were 5 meetings in all, but 2 of them, like, you know, on a Sunday it was a double meeting, and on a Tuesday it was a double meeting, but Thursdays was a single meeting. We had to go witnessing at least once a week, which is usually a Saturday. I also had netball. I also played violin. And, I had to give up the violin because my parents couldn't keep affording to send me. But I was still expected to practice, even though they couldn't afford to pay for lessons. I was still expected to practice. Oh, but look at you now. Look at you now, still doing assignments, you know, still keeping at it. That is, hey, you got ducks in science. I don't think that the teacher that they had no skills. It sounds like you might have actually been pretty good at it when you had a teacher who, you know, I will never forget when my teacher announced that I got ducks in, what year was it? It was so embarrassing because when they said it, they were announcing it and they're saying, ducks goes to a lovely young lady who's always a shining example, you know, a delight to have at our school, a perfect example of what we expect of our students here. It's just a shame she never learnt to tie her shoelaces. And I think I was like 11 or 12 at the time. So this was the most mortifying thing you could have done to me. But yes, I always had my shoelaces on and they were always coming undone. And it was just, oh, so embarrassing. Ever since then, I've honestly sat through award ceremonies. Ever since then, I think terrified someone's going to call my name out, even though I wasn't up for an award. Like it's haunted me. Oh, wow. Yeah, no, I have no interest in doing corporate law. I went to uni to study because I wanted to do immigration law. And then I saw that don't be a lawyer thing, like don't be a lawyer. What's this? What's this? Oh. Anyway, we should review that at some point as well. Oh, I'm getting sidetracked again. You're supposed to keep me on track. No. What's going on? Okay, back to what I was saying. Kim, you're supposed to be keeping me on track. Keep you on track. What the fuck? That's above my pay grade. Fair. All right. Let's do it. Let's get into it. Let's try and not let rubber face distract us too much.
That have continued to affect our brothers recently. In September, our brothers in Greece faced heavy rain and severe flooding. In October, our brothers in Mexico dealt with a Category 5 hurricane, which caused widespread damage. And in November, our brothers in the Philippines experienced a magnitude 6.7 earthquake.
It looks like I'm laughing at the earthquake.
Sadly,
No, I'm laughing at your
as a result of the
shirt
earthquake,
matches his tie.
one of our dear
Very
sisters
keen
died,
observer.
and 10 brothers and sisters were injured. We continue to pray for those affected by the many disasters happening around the world. But we thank all of you for your support and prayers. Some of you are working hard with disaster relief, and many more of you are making generous donations which allow us to provide the necessities for our brothers and sisters and to
Money, 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 money. Money. That's all they want. Money, 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 money. Yep, Satan makes the climate catastrophe and God rescues everyone that donates to the JWs. Yep. And they use every single tragedy as an opportunity to put their hands out and say, more please. But they're not giving it back to the communities. It's not going back into the communities. There was a lot of money that was raised for the hurricanes that happened in Puerto Rico that damaged a lot of people's homes. Like the power grid was off there for months and months. They raised a whole heap of money to rebuild the kingdom halls and things there. Never gave it to them. The governing body made the decision not to rebuild those kingdom halls because the numbers there didn't really justify it. So all the brothers and sisters, like all their members of their religion all around the world, gathered all this money together to help them rebuild their hall. And these guys just went, nah, we'll keep on to that money. We're just going to hang on to it. Yeah, fuck yeah, they're hunting for every dollar that they can. Abso-fucking-lutely. If you really want to see the devil, banking law is where you look. I have got to be honest with you. I did a unit of property law. That is one of the units that I did in my first semester. I did property law, not family law. I was supposed to do family law next semester. I did property law, constitutional. I did a unit on constitutional law and property law. They were the only two that and I did criminal law as well, but that was the semester before because I was doing part-time. And property law bored me so much. If I had to do banking law, like tax law is thankfully only an option. I don't have to do that one. Like it's not one of the core units, but banking law, no, thank you. Have you seen a breakdown of what the Mormon church owns? I haven't, and I would like to see that. I would like to see a breakdown of what these guys own, actually. That's something I've never really looked into too much since I left because I know they own a lot of property. Like their main game is real estate. But, yeah, I can't say I have I think I'd get far too depressed if I looked into how much money they have. You know, knowing that they have a large, like every time I think about, sometimes when you're really low on cash and you think about all those times you made really stupid purchases. Am I the only one who does that? Like when Henry VIII took 25% of England off the Catholic Church when he wanted to divorce his wife, but that shit is real and now. Yeah. When you think about times in your past where you spent money when you shouldn't have, like when you bought something and you really know you shouldn't have, and then it haunts you because like 5 years later you're short like $50 to make your bills and you're like, if only I hadn't spent that $100 on putting that deposit on that sewing machine I knew I wasn't going to come back with because I couldn't afford it. It was a $6,000 sewing machine. I was never going to get it. It was a giant fucking quilting machine. I was never going to be able to afford it, but I wanted to pretend I could, and so I put a $100 deposit down. All the time. See? You know what I'm talking about. The Reserve Bank is about to ramp up the repo market. I knew this was coming. Oh, God, Tulip, I knew this was coming. Oh, I'm going to have to look in. We're going to have to look into this. Of course it is. I talk about these cycles all of the time. I talk about these cycles. I'm sorry. Someone just on the TikToks just pointed out that the Reserve Bank is about to ramp up with the repossessions of defaulting mortgages. We're about to see, a whole heap of houses coming onto the seconds market, so to speak. And whenever we have poverty is the cause, but you can't ration money. Yeah. I just think again, like, because they've started this cycle up again about talking about how crime's increasing, about how there's this crime wave, about how we need to invest in policing. There is no crime wave. There isn't a ramp up in crime. They know one's coming because they can see the writing on the wall and they know how bad things are getting. But what triggers the crime wave, because these cycles always happen, what triggers the crime wave is usually the spike up in policing. Like they do a big hiring route, they have so many more police out on the streets, and when you have more police, you catch more crimes. Like, and people go, that's the point. No, like when you have more police, they feel like they have to justify themselves. And so things that previously they would have let go as trivial matters, they tend to pursue further. Like you're still only going to have 2% like conviction rate of anyone who goes through the criminal justice system. You're only going to have like a 2 or 0.5% rate of anyone actually serving any time. But you're just going to see, like, whereas previously, like 100% of crimes and only like 40% of them were reported to police, and of that 40%, police only decided to pursue 20%. Instead, you'll see that police will pursue 60% of them. Oh, sorry. You'll see that police like will get reported like 50% or 60% of the crimes, and they will choose to report. They will choose to record like 30 or 40% of like. Not of the 60%, of the 100%. We're coming down from the 100% each time. I want to make that clear. Like we're not talking about 40% of the 60 that are recommended to them. We're talking about 40% of all crimes tend to find their way being reported to police. And in the case of doing this, like ramping up, 40% of all crimes, the police actually decide to pursue, like using their natural discretion or whatever. See, my brain is just all over the fucking place today. Cops create crime. Yeah, 100%. 100%. And as we know, the people who tend to get harmed by most like this are Indigenous kids who are just, do you know who, 0.5%, that can't be right. Yeah, so 0.5% of all crimes that happen result in some kind of incarceration. Yes, that is correct. Like broadly speaking, of all of the crimes that happen, we ourselves, like the community and people who might even be willing to report on them aren't even aware of all of them. The only reason the community is aware of all of them is because everyone who's also committing crimes is a part of the community. The Reserve Bank media releases 2 days ago. Oh. Do you know who Thomas Sankara is? I'm one of those people who this happened the other day. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The war on drugs has had a huge and honestly, the militarization of the police just forgot what I was saying then. All right, let's hit play on the beards. We were talking about crime. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. Police are nobody's friends. ACAB. I'm going to get a sign on my wall for my kids, like in this house. Honestly, that's one of the things I hate about the right wing's portrayal of leftists as well. Not once have I ever heard any of them say ACAB. It's like, it's the thing we say the most often. Oh, yes. Yes. Yes, I have. Sorry. As I said, someone said this to me the other day as well. They asked me if I know you and son's name, and I was like, "Oh, that name's familiar. Why is it familiar?" And then they're like, "Oh, told me," and I was like, "Yep." All cats are beautiful. All cats are beautiful. All right. The topic today is beards. We're finally going to find out, or are we? That's the question. Are we finally going to find out why Jehovah's Witnesses are now wearing beards? This is the question. This is the question that we have been tasked to answer. We are going to answer it. Today is the day we answer it. Okay, let's go.
Rebuild their homes and kingdom halls. We're so grateful for your help.
We are not going
On behalf of the governing body, we say thank you.
We're never going to. Oh, yeah, that's.
But now, for the rest of our update, let's discuss the theme. We recommend ourselves as God's ministers.
Good to see ya.
This is based on 2 Corinthians chapter 6, verse 4,
Describe
where the
it.
Apostle Paul said,
Ask you to do.
in every way, we recommend ourselves as God's ministers.
In the struggle is
What
right.
does that mean? The study note in this verse says, the Greek verb rendered we recommend ourselves conveys the idea we prove
He gets knocked off
or
a horse.
show ourselves to be.
Ugh.
But how do we show ourselves to be ministers of the true God?
Far out.
One important way is by our appearance. We all want to reflect well on the God we love and worship. How do we do that? By following Bible principles. For example, consider the principle recorded at 1 Timothy chapter 2.
These are the ones who go knocking on your doors and don't shut up. Also see Mormons. See also Mormons.
2, verses 9 and 10.
But Jehovah's Witnesses used to be really short, so you can
Likewise,
see it, and we've seen
the
beards
women
with
should
the
adorn
workout line.
themselves in appropriate dress with modesty and soundness of mind, not with styles of hair braiding and gold or pearls or very expensive clothing, but in the way
Paul
that
just
is
wants to be all
proper
like,
for women professing
I consider
devotion
him
to
God
God,
too. Jesus wasn't the only one.
namely through
Like, he's
good
the only one who gets meant to be
works.
son of God, but he wasn't the only one who gets like visions.
Although
and shit.
that counsel
Really?
is directed to Christian women, the principle applies equally to men and women.
No mixed cloths.
So
I
one
reckon
way
that tie
all
is
of us
definitely
Can
polyester.
recommend ourselves
I don't
as God's
think-
ministers
I'm
is
pretty
by
sure he's
making
wearing
sure
like a polyester tie,
that our
maybe a linen
appearance
cotton
is
shirt,
appropriate
maybe a
and
wool
modest,
suit.
reflecting
Definitely
soundness of mind.
He definitely ruined. He just
But
breached
does
that
that
Bible
mean
principle.
that all of Jehovah's Witnesses make the same choices? Should we wear a uniform
Oh, absolutely.
or adopt a single form
Absolutely. Look at that
of
fucking
appropriate
ring on his
dress and
finger.
grooming?
I don't know how
Of
much
course
money he's
not.
wearing in jewelry alone.
There are well over 8 million of Jehovah's Witnesses.
All the fucking I wanna honestly, I wanna zoom in on that fucking ring. But I reckon that's the Puerto Rico drive. The drive to rebuild the Puerto Rico hall. I think that's where that money went, in that ring. Or one like it. Maybe not necessarily on his finger. But on one of their fingers.
Worldwide. And we have a wide range of cultures. Jehovah has drawn these millions of people, and he loves
No, definitely no angels down on
variety.
him, but on us.
But now we ask, what about the wearing of a beard?
It's okay.
Is that an appropriate choice for a brother to make? To help us answer that question, let's watch the following video.
You mentioned beards.
Which
Found the right
reviews
footage.
the history of beards among Jehovah's people.
He's mentioned the beards. We've found it, guys. We've struck.
In patriarchal times, it was customary for men to wear beards. This practice
found the
continued
beard.
among the Israelites. An Israelite man would shave only when he was humiliated or grieving. For example, when the king of Ammon humiliated David's servants by shaving their beards, David protected their dignity by telling them, "Stay in Jericho until your beards grow back, and then return." Centuries later, the prophet Ezekiel shaved his beard and his head to symbolize the great distress and grief that would soon afflict Jerusalem. What about Jesus? Did he too, as an Israelite, wear a beard? For some years, based on the conclusions of certain archaeologists, our publications most often portrayed Jesus as clean-shaven. But in 1968, the Watchtower considered more reliable evidence from both.
I'm sorry, what are we talking about? The history of my beard? Yeah, let's hear the history of your beard. That sounds like it'd be so much more interesting. What are we talking about? The history of beards in ancient Israel. What has that got to do with your weird rules against not letting your followers wear them today. Like, what are you doing? The history of my beard is it grew and I'm way too fussy to shave it off. And then I learned about the Nazarites. And then I got happy because I could use my facial hair against nutty Christians. Yeah, Jewish rabbi, classically not clean shaven. No, like we already knew that. We already knew that all the dudes in the Bible were wearing beards. I didn't even think there was any question about Jesus having a beard. Like I didn't realize that there was some deep cuts where we used to think that, or the JWs used to think that Jesus was clean shaven. Like he was a Jewish man growing up, like in the before our common era times. He had a fucking beard. Of course he had a fucking, like that's just common fucking sense he had a beard. Why do we need to do more research on that? Like, this is what just gets me about this religion. Okay, like I get that we shouldn't assume that everyone has a beard, but like, why would they assume that Jesus would not have had a beard? Like, what would have ever made them think? They haven't provided us any reason that they thought that, yeah, JC was all clean shaven. Yeah, where do you get that out of the archaeology? What archaeology? I mean, they might make something up for us right now, but again, they're not going to tell us. Like, cite your sources, bro. That's why we need our fucking our bingo card. Cite your sources. No sources cited at all for this claim. It's just archaeologists have told us now that Jesus actually did have a beard. Okay, sure, radio, whatever. But also, what has this got to do with you changing your minds about beards today? Like, this just seems like a whole lot of edging for me. Like, we're 6 minutes into this video. Okay, like, just get to it. You know what I mean? Like, what is your reasoning today? All this shit about, oh my God. No, there is nothing about. So what it actually is, and this is what I don't think they're actually going to talk about. So what actually happened was that we had Charles Taze Russell and we had his second in command. Charles Taze Russell was like the cult leader. He had all this money and he started the cult in the beginning days. Hey, Ames, how you going? Flying through this one today. We're trying. Yeah. So because two old mate JWs, Charles Taze Russell had a beard, and the guy whose name I can't remember off the top of my head, I want to say Christopher, but I'm pretty sure that's just because I've got Christopher Columbus in my head. But the guy who took over from him did not have a beard. So he outlawed beards just because he didn't like the other guy. Like it was just a personal beef. They were like, nah, no more beards. And this was like 100 years ago. This beef was 100 years ago. 100 years ago. And they've just decided to change the rules. Yes. We have been talking about a few other things, but not, we didn't get too sidetracked. We haven't gone too sidetracked. But no, the whole fact that this law, which they're not going to tell us, is based on the beef of two guys who both lived like 100 years ago, who they didn't like each other. They just had beef with each other. And so one of them just started an arbitrary rule because he was in charge of a fucking cult. And so he could tell all of his cult leaders, no, you must all be clean shaven. Charles had a beard and I didn't like him. Yeah, of course there's nothing in the Bible that prohibits it. Everyone in the Bible had a fucking beard. The women had beards. Like, seriously, it's ridiculous. Anyway, we're getting there, Ames. We're getting there. All right, let's find out what his reasoning is now. Like, I've just gone on my little tirade about what the fuck could they be talking about with archaeological evidence. Let's see, shall we? Let's see what the archaeological evidence is.
But in 1968, the Watchtower considered more reliable evidence from both historical sources and the scriptures. None of the four Gospels indicate that Jesus' appearance stood out as different. He did what was customary among Jewish men at that time.
Again,
he wore a beard.
There's no sources.
Our videos and artwork in our publications ever since have consistently portrayed Jesus with a well-groomed beard. By the time the Christian congregation was established, the Romans had adopted the practice of.
I was going to say, Ames, are you on their Discord? The angry woman. There you are. We're not even friends. I can't send you a message because you're not my friend. No, I can message you. It's fine. I'm not old. I'm not that old. The only blokes with no beards in the olden days was the younger gay men in Greek culture, I'm pretty sure. Yeah. But even they said in this, they were just like nothing. There is nothing to indicate. Like their proof is the absence of proof. If he had a clean shaven beard, it would have stood out. Like if he had been clean shaven, it would have stood out. He was a Jewish man living back then. It would have been noteworthy for a 33-year-old man to be going around clean shaven. And like again, I was always under the impression, even as a JW, that Jesus had a beard. So it feels like they're trying to, in a roundabout way, say that the reason they stopped wearing beards was because they thought that Jesus was clean shaven, and so they thought that was the standard for Christians. But they're not coming out and saying it. And they do the same thing. The JWs have done the same thing with the 1975 Stay Alive Until 75 teaching. So the Jehovah's Witnesses used to teach the world would be ending in 1975. That was when Armageddon would come. They said it from the platform. It was like very well known within the community that 75 was the end of days. When it didn't happen, when it didn't come, they turned around and basically gaslit the whole community. And even at an assembly before I left, there was a part, this is going back 7 years now. They had a part on one of the assemblies that was basically like, back in those days, some people in the organization got it into their head about like a certain date. And it's like, no, you were actively telling them that there was a date, but they, you know what I mean? They play it off. Yeah, this has nothing to do with the fact that there were just two guys who didn't like each other very much. This has nothing to do with a squabble between two guys about whether clean shaven or beards were better. This has got nothing to do with that. So don't pay attention. Instead, we're hinting at the idea that we possibly thought that maybe Jesus was clean shaven, but we're not actually going to come out and say it.
Shaving. Were Jewish Christians then expected to shave, or were Gentile Christians expected to grow beards in order to blend in with their Jewish brothers? Evidently not. Since the scriptures neither command true worshipers to grow a beard, nor command them to shave, this was a matter of personal decision.
I just don't, again.
In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, beards were common even among the Bible students, as seen in these photos of Pilgrim brothers who traveled for the organization.
Okay, we know that.
Brother Russell, too, wore a beard.
Yeah.
One newspaper editor called him a well-groomed minister. He said, "It had never occurred to me he was any different from thousands of other preachers. His soft, white flowing beard is the beard of a patriarch, a father. It gives you confidence." Soon after World War I, shaving enjoyed a resurgence in popularity. In 1919, when this photo of the Pilgrims was taken, most did not have a beard. Therefore, although our publications said little about the subject at the time, very few brothers grew beards. Starting in the 1960s, in many lands, beards became associated with those who were rebelling against established authority. Where that was the case, most men, both witnesses and non-witnesses, chose to shave. Because of the negative connotations associated with wearing a beard, most publications said little about the subject at the time. Very few brothers grew beards. Starting in the 1960s, in many lands, beards became associated with those who were rebelling against established authority. Where that was the case, most men, both witnesses and non-witnesses, chose to shave. Because of the negative connotations associated with wearing a beard, most brothers who wore a beard did not serve as ministerial servants, elders, or in other appointed positions. With the passing of time, in some lands, beards became more common and were not associated with rebellion. In those places, some brothers with beards were appointed as ministerial servants and elders. In recent times, the wearing of a beard has become common in many more lands. So, how should we view a brother who chooses?
I'm just baffled because one of the last things I remember happening before I fully left the cult was this massive argument because his brother was wearing a beard and he refused to take it off. And like he was losing privileges in the congregation left and right. And they were, because that's the thing, they won't just fellowship you over. It's not just fellowshipping offense, but they won't give you any privileges. Like you're not allowed to answer at me. They won't call on you to answer, like privileges, as in you can't be a slave to the congregation. But that's like the biggest joy you can have is to be a slave for the congregation, right? So you want to be slaving for the congregation. And like he was doing a Bible reading one week because that was one thing you were allowed to do. Like kids were allowed to do that. Non-baptized people were allowed to do that. So that was one thing you were allowed to do as a man. Women were never allowed to do the Bible reading. But he got up and he did the Bible reading and he specifically read an extra passage because the next verse, the one after he was supposed to finish, talked about Aaron's beard. Like it was a scripture from one of Moses's books that spoke about Aaron's beard. And the majesty of Aaron's beard. And I just remembered that so clearly because I remember thinking, oh, fuck, he's just needling them, isn't he? And I was kind of a little bit like, yeah, get him. Because by that point I was already 1 foot out the door. But I just remember that so clearly. For them to sit there and be like, there wasn't any strict guidance on it. Like, no, there was really strict guidance on it. There was really strict guidelines. But they sit here and pretend and act like, you know, cultures and times change. And so some lands, beards weren't allowed. In other lands, beards were allowed. But it's like they're only doing all of this because they made the rules in the US that you weren't allowed to wear beards. Some places it didn't take on because they were like, fuck off, you can't take our beards, particularly in colder climates. And now they're trying to act. He can't be saved. No. And he was one of God's chosen ones. We are talking about Jehovah's Witnesses, so close second, not the Mormons, but Jehovah's Witnesses. But they're acting as though they're not the ones who made this decree in the first place. They're acting like it was just like, for some reason, the guys decided that beards weren't the thing. And so most brothers didn't wear them. No, you were specifically telling them they weren't fucking allowed to. You begged them. You fucking begged them. Like in the early 1900s. Yeah, the witnesses are suddenly allowing beards again. And once again, in their fabulous style, let's take a soccer precedent in English culture related to military fashion because guns were invented. Yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. And lice as well. Like massive, massive problem with lice and things during the war, like in the close quarters together. Like it was, hugely problematic not having a trim. And that's one of the reasons that military styles are so short and severe because, it's not just because we think it looks good. It's because there's reasons for it. Yeah. Makes sense if you don't want someone that's mistaking you for a different religious cult. Hey.
Chooses to grow a beard today.
No, we're the ones with no beards. That's us.
The video ended with an intriguing question. How should we view a brother who chooses to grow a beard today?
Question. I don't think it is intriguing.
The governing body has asked me to read
the
following announcement.
The only reason this is an announcement, the only reason this is a big deal at all is because they kept making a big deal. They kept saying that men who had beards, people with beards, weren't allowed to have any sort of privileges. You weren't given a position of authority in the congregation. Like, they're the ones who made this a thing. It's not that big of a deal. Like, we don't need a 20-minute presentation on it. You just needed like a letter. And we used to have that. Like, a guy would just come out to the congregation and read a letter and just be like, the governing body just want you all to know X, Y, and Z. Like, it wasn't a big song and dance like this back in the day. When in my day, when I was a kid, when I was a young one.
A number of branch offices around the world have written to us,
young ones,
indicating that there continue to be questions about whether or not it is proper for a brother in an appointed position to wear a beard. After prayerful consideration, the governing body has concluded that there is a need to clarify this matter.
Oh,
the governing body does not.
Don't you love that, though, how they're saying we need to clarify this matter, not like we're going to update you. Once again, they're not taking any responsibility for the beard ban. They're not taking any responsibility for the beard ban, but they're going to pretend that they're just clarifying a matter. There was some There were some arguments amongst you guys. We weren't a part of that. There were some arguments amongst you. Never mind the next video. Next minute, they're all wearing fucking beards. Clarify, meaning flip the coin. Yeah. Should we let them have beards? I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. We invade the sunny place where men wear beards and like to laugh at all the children invading. Yeah. All the clean-shaven children running over. I mean, it is such a thing for men. Like, facial hair is such a thing. I know I've got friends who've never been able to grow beards, and it's like such a thing. Like, they mention it so often. They mention it more often than I mention my leg hair. And I would have thought that it would be the other way around. I would have thought, especially in summer, that I would bring up my leg hair a lot more than they bring up their lack of beard. But no, like, I mean, my ex had this really big bushy beard. Have I got a picture of him around here actually somewhere I can show you? But he looks like Cody Johnson from Some More News. That's the kind of beard he had. And it used to get really scrubbly and really unwieldy, and then he would just shave the whole thing off, and then he'd let it grow back in again, and then he'd just shave the whole thing off, and that was his beard maintenance. And I went out and bought him like all these oils and shit to try and, still just wanted to go out looking a little scraggly like. I mean, he's using his beard oils and trimming it up now because he's single again and he's out there.
Body has concluded that there is a need to clarify this matter. The governing body does not have an issue with brothers wearing beards.
No issue.
Why not? Because the scriptures do not condemn the wearing of beards. Furthermore, as time has passed, we have noted that in many lands, it is acceptable for men who hold responsible positions in business and government to wear beards. Thus, whether a brother wears a beard is a personal decision. A brother's qualifications to serve as an
prayerful, Amy, means that they want you to pray over it and think over it. You can't just lean on your own understanding. You have to prayerfully consider it and talk to God and ask what he wants you to do. Yeah, thanks, Jill. I'm not really the kind of creator that a lot of people follow because they like me. I'm more the kind of creator that people follow because I'm informative sometimes. Other times I'm just ranty. But I do also like to inform. So but we're having we're trying to have a bit more like educational discussions and things over on the other platforms. And I do find that breaking down the bullshit in things like the cult messaging is a good way to sort of break down the way that our politicians and things lie to us without panicking that you're going to upset someone. I make the people think. I try to. Yes, that's a good way of putting it, Kim. What are we chatting about? We are chatting about the fact that beards. We're talking about beards, quite literally. We are talking about beards. It's taken me a week to figure out why Jehovah's Witnesses are now allowed to wear beards. And very disappointingly, the answer has come down to the governing body basically just going, they were never not allowed beards, which we all know is bullshit because they were actively like not allowing people to wear beards like 10 minutes ago. But we are talking about it together. That didn't feel good. You know when you plug your phone in and you feel like you immediately just broke the charger? Like you felt it move in a way it shouldn't have? Like, oh yeah, I think I've broken my charger inside my phone. No, that's not charging. I've broken my charger. It hasn't come apart, but it's definitely broken. Ugh. Yeah, not supposed to wiggle like that, is it? Oh, well. So, yes. Anywho, let's press play. Oh, man, my husband spends more time on his beard than I do my hair. Yeah, I had. My ex was the same. Void. Yes. Come to the void. Another beard joins the chat. Another ankle. Another, I don't know. You guys have so many in-jokes I don't even know about. I feel like the longer the beard, the closer to God. Yes. That's going to become a new thing, I think. Who can grow the longest, sickest beard in the JWs?
elder or ministerial servant are based on his spirituality, not on whether he chooses to wear a beard. This direction also applies to special full-time servants
He's reading it off
at
a page
Bethel
like he hasn't
and
just been
those in the
reading
field, including
bloody.
special pioneers,
He's reading
missionaries, and circuit.
the entire time he's talking. He's reading from a teleprompter, but right now he's holding a piece of paper up in front of him and he's squinting at it because he can't see very well because he's an older man. Probably needs glasses. Isn't wearing them. Doesn't want to admit he needs glasses. All things are good to God. He's fine. Hey. Yeah, probably. Can we not afford a teleprompter? Well, I don't have a teleprompter. But he's got a teleprompter and now he's squinting, reading at this piece of paper, pretending he doesn't need glasses. Like, you're not proving anything to anyone, dude. Put your glasses on. Stop pretending. Or just read off the teleprompter. We all know you read from a teleprompter. Read from the teleprompter. Put the words up on the screen like you do when you're reading scriptures. Like, we know you're not actually reading from the Bible. We know you're reading from a teleprompter.
Overseers. In harmony with Romans 14:4, neither the elders nor any other Christian should feel compelled to judge a brother who chooses to wear a beard. We trust that these comments will help us to remain on guard against anything that might cause division among Jehovah's people. End of the announcement from the governing body. This direction, however,
2.5 billion.
may raise some questions.
Yeah,
For
like
example,
can you
here's
stand
one.
in beards 5 minutes ago?
Why is the governing body providing this direction at this time? Well, as recorded at 1 Corinthians 7:31, the Apostle Paul was inspired to write, "The scene of this world is changing."
They liken themselves to Paul
The
so
study note
much.
in that verse shows
Like,
that
he
Paul
was
may
an
have been
itchy little
alluding
wannabe
to the
too.
way that
He
scenes
was a
change
misogynistic little
swiftly in a theater, with actors passing quickly on and off the stage.
explaining
In
based
keeping
on
with the principle of Paul's
bingo.
inspired statement, grooming styles have changed over the years. For example, more and more beards are worn by men in responsible positions who project a respectable appearance.
So it's
Here's
usually
another
just because they
question.
thought they looked young.
How should we view a brother who decides to grow a beard?
I know. Yeah, the scene of the world is
Well,
changing that
we
fast.
should apply Jesus' counsel
That fast.
found at John 7:24. Stop
Like, it was
judging
60
by
years
the
ago.
outward appearance.
60 years
As
ago.
we saw in the video, grooming styles have
So quickly the
changed
scene
over
changes. So quickly we
time.
have to adjust. 60 years ago.
Not all of such changes are bad.
So many people were in
To
the board weren't even
illustrate,
alive.
none of us would likely choose to dress and groom ourselves as people
No.
did in Bible times, nor even as people
Yeah.
did
Why
a
are you not
century
fascist
ago.
looking for
In fact, most choose to follow the styles that are prevalent now,
cannot read the page. He's
not
not.
those from decades past.
He's definitely not.
Generally speaking, it's not bad or wrong to dress and groom ourselves as people in our community commonly do, as long as that style does not violate Bible principles.
Well, I'm still out.
We always want to be
Yeah,
sure
cut it out.
that our
That's still against
appearance
the rules as far as I know.
reflects cleanliness, modesty,
The obsession
and
with cleanliness.
soundness of
Like
mind.
privilege. You're talking to people who
Here's
live
another
all over
question.
the world. Like cleanliness isn't that
How
easy.
can we
It's-
promote
ugh.
unity in light of this direction?
Why would a bald person
Well,
be
after
offensive?
viewing this
I mean,
program, some might have to contend
yes, my phone
with
is wirelessly
strong
charged.
feelings. For example, some might feel as though they've been vindicated, saying, in effect, "This is what I've been saying for a long time. This proves that I was right all along." Others might feel disappointed, saying, in effect, I supported the policy about grooming for all those years. Now, I feel let down. But is
Nobody thinks
either
that.
reaction appropriate? Not really. Note what the Apostle Paul was inspired to write
Why do you not like
at
being
1
right? What happened?
Corinthians
What were you right about?
chapter 1
My phone
and
wirelessly
verse
charged
number
you,
10.
and all the charges breaking.
Now I urge you, brothers, through the name of our Lord Jesus Christ, that you should all speak in agreement, and that there should be no divisions among you,
Oh, so we're not even allowed to
but
argue.
that you may be completely
What
united
do you want to be wrong
in
about?
the
though?
same eye
Does he?
and in the same line of thought.
No questioning, no arguing, no
How
disagreeing.
does that principle
Changed our
apply
mind, and you're
here?
just going to go with it.
Well, if
Yeah, we're
we've
talking to
been
people they seem gaslighting.
promoting our own opinion,
I do
on this
find
subject,
myself tuning him out a lot.
contradicting the guidance from the organization,
Projective thing. My brain just kind of
have
goes.
we
"Just
been
tune him out.
promoting
I can't hear
unity?
you anymore."
Have we helped the brotherhood to
I'm
be
also on zero
completely
sleep, don't
united
forget. I
in
have
the
not
same line of thought?
Yeah,
Clearly not.
but I
Any
literally haven't
who've
slept. Like,
done
I'm not
so
kidding. I did not
need
sleep
to
last night.
adjust their thinking and attitude.
Could not handle
On the
it.
other hand, if we've loyally supported the organization's direction over the years,
Oh,
do we have any scriptural reason to regret our course?
yeah, I know what you mean.
Certainly not. Jehovah values our loyal service. He also appreciates our humble willingness to be obedient
Now
and
we've got to do that
submissive
whole.
to the direction we receive from God's
Now we've got to do
organization.
the whole. Okay, because this is the thing too, right?
Back
So now, what they're trying to do with this whole bit, because I understand the culture of the JWs, there's going to be a whole lot of dudes out there who are like growing these beards out, being like, we can wear beards now, you can't do this about it. And there'll be a whole lot of elders out there who are being made to keep the rules and being made to be the little policemen who are going to be like, like that was that gave me power, that gave me authority, I want it back. And so now he's doing this whole. Yeah. I figured you weren't. I tend to assume, yeah, that sweet authority. That sweet authority. The sweet. And now they're giving it all up for beard whiskers. Giving it all up for
in
some
the
beard
first
whiskers.
century CE, some Christians allowed the issue of circumcision to cause division.
Oh, I've
But
heard
the
this story
Holy
before as
Spirit
well. Have
directed
you guys heard of the
the
story
governing body
about how Paul
to
single-handedly fixed
resolve that
the
issue
issues
and
with
promote
circumcision
unity.
in early modern day Christianity?
Similarly, the governing body today is
Very
striving to
thrilling
promote
story.
unity.
Very thrilling story. There was an argument
We
about whether they
would
should have circumcision or
never
not.
want the matter of beards
And Paul came in and
to
said no.
cause division
And it
among us.
sorted out the division.
All of us need to remember
Yeah.
that the earthly part of Jehovah's organization is always striving to reflect the heavenly part, to keep up with
Honestly,
it, as it were.
it's just
Remember how
bureaucracy, and they're
fast
trying to make it think
the
so
chariot
important.
in Ezekiel's vision
Okay.
moved like flashes of lightning.
Potter.
Any who
Potter.
seek to run ahead of that chariot, trying to force change prematurely,
Sorry. Prematurely.
who lag behind, hesitating to support changes that have come from the faithful slave, are not keeping pace with Jehovah's organization. In conclusion,
I honestly can't with
are
this
we
guy.
not grateful
He drives me crazy.
for this balanced direction
Oh.
regarding beards?
Balanced direction.
Jehovah has
Balanced
dignified it.
direction.
He allows each brother the freedom
Balanced
to
direction.
choose whether or not
Balanced direction.
he will wear a beard. We're confident that all of you are determined to keep pace, adjust your views as needed, and continue to serve Jehovah loyally, promoting love and unity
Listen.
among your brothers and sisters.
Oh.
from the world headquarters
Oh,
of Jehovah's
oh,
Witnesses. This
it's
is
over.
JW Broadcasting.
It's over. Ugh. Sleeves down or up? They didn't give us any direction on sleeves. They didn't give us any direction on sleeves. Now, that does worry me because they have given us direction about everything else. When does Brother Beard get his LED installed? Well, if we have a look at some other footage, I'm just going to share. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to share my screen with online. Socks, no socks. Tell us what we need. So as we can see from this video here, we've got Mark Sanderson wearing a lovely, lovely Santa Claus little trimmed number. A little trimmed up Santa Claus number. Look, oh, there he is. Little mustachioed man wearing, again, what it looks like at least a minimum of $3,000 suit. Minimum $3,000 suit. Minimum. Oh, look at that free. What is it with old men and gaudy jewelry? Oh! Or is it just creepy old men? Does anyone know any old men that aren't into gaudy gold jewelry? Because all the old men I know, all into this gaudy old gold jewelry. Hi, Alison. Do I know you, Alison? Are you an Alison that I know? I'm just saying hi. That's good too. Hi. Any hoozles. Oh, that was just not sure. Can't wear jewelry. Yeah, see, I don't really, I mean, obviously I do I've got my piercings, but other than my piercings, I don't wear jewelry. I find it gets in the way. It's too cumbersome. If it's not attached to me, it's too cumbersome. I can't. Okay, I know that all jewelry is attached to you, but I just feel like, rings, necklaces, yeah, anything like that I think, because again, working on mine sites for so long, anything that could get caught anywhere. I would have taken this off too, though, when I was on the site. I wouldn't have wanted to risk getting my nose pulled out, that's for sure. So yeah, I would have taken that out too when I was on the mine site. But any hoozle. Who are we talking about wants hugs or fist bumps? Jazzy, I'm confused. I'm hoping it's just because, again, I haven't slept. Okay. So we know now why the JWs are wearing beards, because they never had a reason not to. And it looks like Mark Sanderson really wanted one. And so they decided to look for a reason that old Marky Mark was allowed to wear a beard. And they found one in the simplicity of, we should never have stopped you from wearing them at all. Beards. We found out where the beards came from. We found out where the beards came from. We did. I feel a little bit let down though by that answer. I was expecting something juicier. It just didn't feel, I don't know, it didn't feel satisfying, did it? It really didn't feel satisfying. We do have, and it's up to you guys what you want to do next. You let me know. Yeah, the hours and hours on the New Testament. There is a JW broadcasting for the month of March that is on my schedule to watch. I was going to watch it next Monday, but I can watch it today if you guys want to watch and review that. Or if we're done with the JWs for the day. No. Thus far, they've not said anything that was inspired. No. So it's very easy to be unimpressed with much of the stuff that they say, to be honest. Otherwise, we can also have a look at Destiny's interview with Jordan Peterson. Now, the reason I want to look at Destiny's interview with Jordan Peterson is because Destiny is actually not a left winger, really. He's very much a centrist. I don't agree with pretty much anything that he says. But Jordan Peterson even found reason to yell at him and argue with him. And I do kind of feel like, I don't know, I feel like Jordan Peterson is showing his whole ass with how right wing. For years he said that he wasn't right wing, that he saw himself as more of a centrist. Well, Destiny is a centrist. And he had an argument with Jordan Peterson, and Jordan Peterson spent half the time yelling at him. I mean, yeah, okay, fair enough. No, there aren't really any benefits. There aren't really any benefits to seeing Destiny and Jordan Peterson. Destiny doesn't even argue. Destiny's just sitting there trying to have a civil conversation. And Jorbson's getting his all of his joints out of whack because because Destiny has the gall to ask some really basic fucking questions that Jordan Peterson treats like they're the stupidest things you could ever ask. Yeah. Jordan got caught on too many conflicting views. Yeah. No, and that's true too. Like Destiny, he's very ineffectual during the whole thing. The whole time I was watching it, to be honest, and I know this is going to sound really like up myself, like I think I'm the greatest or whatever. But while I was watching it, I just kept thinking, I wish I would have the opportunity to have this kind of a discussion with Jordan Peterson. But I know I never will because of the type of content that I produce. He's never going to sit down and have an interview with me because he would not get a word in edgewise for a start. He's probably seen the few debates that I have actually engaged in on TikTok. Guys will often come in and do this thing where they talk louder than you and talk over the top of you to get you to stop talking. And quite often when I'm watching it, I see the people who do it, I'm like, oh, I want to get up there and I want to talk to you right now. And when I did, the last time, I just talked louder and more. And I just kept talking until he shut up. I just kept talking until he shut up. And at the end, he goes, okay, you done now, you little tantrum? And I was like, I'm done saying what I was saying before you interrupted me, before you got up here and started demanding that I listened to you. But I feel bad for the poor girl. I'm annoyed by the leftist perspective on most things because they won't declare outright communism. Is it they want to declare outright communism or they won't declare outright communism? Which is what's the thing we're getting? Yeah, institutionalized. Yeah, she's been institutionalized. Yeah, literally anyone who disagrees with them are children. And at that point, I just logged off because I said I wasn't I was answering a question. He then interrupted me to talk over the top of me and tell me off for talking so quickly. And so then I just kept talking faster and louder and over the top of him until he gave up. And I went, okay, so we're done. And he's like, are you gonna let me finish? And I was like, no, I'm finished. And I left the conversation. I was like, no, I'm finished now. I've said everything I needed to say. You weren't ever going to engage in a civil conversation. Yeah, they see the breakdown of the current factory, but they won't work on fixing the issues, the system. Yeah, can't solve catastrophe thinking that and this is something that frustrates me a lot as well. It's like the impossible hamster. Have you guys seen the impossible hamster? Maybe I can show you that quickly if you haven't seen the impossible hamster. Should we do that? You haven't seen the impossible hamster? All right, let me open up a YouTube window before I... I feel like I have to show you what I opened up my my homepage to on their psychologists observation only. Yeah. I'm going to share my screen with you just so I can show you when I opened up YouTube, what was on my homepage, because I just feel like this is fitting. I feel like this, if I had to pick 6 videos that sort of described my viewing habits on YouTube, this is what it would look like. This is what it would look like. Anyway, impossible hamster. And it's from the, here it is. What the impossible hamster is able to teach us about economic growth. I feel like it's bad that this hasn't been seen by more people. Hang on. All right, we're all going to snuggle in and watch the impossible hamster quickly. It's only a very quick, getting judged by the YouTube videos. Yeah. Yeah. The YouTube algorithm is judging me. Look down the side there. Like, this is how you know too that my kids have been on my page though. This is how you know that my kids have been on my page, though, because, like, though these are probably my fault. Comedy at its worst. Lady Ballers. Have you guys heard? She's very pretty. TT. What? Who are we talking to? Are we talking to me? Hi. Okay, let's press play on the Impossible Hamster. Has anyone seen any of the online discourse about Lady Ballers, though? Yeah, yep. Pretending to solve people's physiological needs by a false narrative of what is, yeah. Yeah. But still, I do feel like a lot of the time we spend a lot of time pretending, pretending. Oh, thank you. That's very sweet of you. That's so sweet of you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Feel free to follow, like, subscribe, share, do all those things I was just ask you to do. All right.
From birth to puberty, a hamster doubles its weight each week.
Okay?
If it didn't stop when mature, as animals do, and continue to double, on its first birthday, we would be staring at a 9 billion ton hamster. This hamster could eat all of the corn produced annually worldwide in a single day and still be hungry. There is a reason why, in nature, things grow in size only to a certain point. So why do most economists and politicians think that the economy can grow forever and ever and ever?
Oh, there you go. Yeah, we're watching The Impossible Hamster. Yeah, so true. No, and I do find it hilarious as well. Like, I've spoken to a lot of people as well who are like most economists who I respect, most people whose opinions on the economy, on economics I respect, often will say things like, okay, one economist I follow on social media, their homepage says economics is really useful as a job for economists. Like, that's their homepage. Thomas Piketty, in his opening chapters of Capital in the 21st Century, opens by talking about how weird it is that economists are revered so much in the Western world when what they're doing, like what he's doing, is basically just reading a whole heap of old musty books and trying to make sense of them and figure out what might happen in the future. Like, it's weird that they're held up to the same level as scientists when they're social scientists. We don't hold sociologists up to the same standard. We don't have sociologists coming in and giving feedback to the government on how they should be operating things. They are probably a lot more relevant. And one of the things that I find really frustrating is that okay, who are your favorite economists? At the moment, I'm reading Grace Blakely. I really like, I'm enjoying a lot of stuff that she has to say. I have enjoyed reading Piketty. I've also been reading Honiff and Stefan Ike. I've been reading him as well at the moment. But yeah, Blakely, I've got a lot of time for Grace Blakely. Varoufakis. Yeah, and I think everyone sort of knows Piketty. Obviously, everyone knows Piketty because of Capital in the 21st Century. Like, he's a standout, absolutely. I don't agree with everything that he says. Yeah, they both look at it and cry. Yeah, Piketty definitely does. Definitely does. And you get the sense reading Blakely as well that she's just so frustrated at how obvious it is that what we're doing is fucked, and yet we keep doing it, which I do appreciate. It sort of, again, it helps to settle the demons inside when I'm like, no, you're not making it up. This is this is shit and it should not be this way. Absolutely not. But yeah, like I was actually listening to a really interesting podcast earlier, and they were talking about the way, like how we view the nation state, which is something that I'm always very, very interested in, because the way that we view the nation state, people have, depending on your political and philosophical understanding of the way the world works, you will have a different idea about what the nation state is, right? You'll have a different definition for what the nation state is based on your interpretation, your understanding of political science, on philosophy, all those things. So it is subjective. The definition for nation state is subjective. But we've had like most of our human history, we have not had an organized state, right? In whatever terminology you want to use for it. And in the places where the nation state really pops up and starts trying to organize things, they fuck it up a lot and they don't get it right very often. So there's a big argument against central planning, because people say, and this is one thing I will say, that there are economists who keep arguing that we don't have central planning. We do have central planning. This is one of the reasons that I love Blakely, because she straight away, like, she goes, no, we do have central planning. It's just being planned in boardrooms, and the end goal isn't the benefit of humankind. It's the making of money for these guys. Like, they own our politicians. They decide our laws. Like, they get to, going to get garlic bread later. Oh, yum. Yes, we found out about the beards. Oops, sorry. Let me just fix this up a little bit. Yeah. I don't think I was going to say, who else have I been reading lately? But anyway, the thing I was going to say, I was saying about lately, talking about a planned economy, the fact that it's being planned in boardrooms and things, and the fact that they own our politicians and they're like in the pockets of our politicians. They're donating to them constantly. They're not. Our politicians aren't legislating in any meaningful way that is going to affect housing in this country, because it is not in their best interest to do so. They're getting paid off by developers, and to not do that. Property developers make a lot more money when land prices and housing prices are skyrocketing the way that they are. They are 100% like not what's the word? Oh my God, I just completely forgot what I was talking about. See, I just assumed your favorite economist was Stephen Lett. You mean Stephen Lett? Oh. No. Why did I just, I don't even know why I just opened that. That was weird. So I'm trying to think what I was thinking about. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah, nation states are invented because kings want borders. Markets are invented so economists can make themselves really fucking rich. Yeah, more the hoarders. I'd say more the hoarders than the economists. Economists try and make sense of the world so that they can control it better. Absolutely. Whoops. Michelle Hudson is decent too. Have you read the OG work Capital by Marx? Of course. Of course. Though I did do the audiobook version. Not going to lie. I also did the audiobook version of Piketty's Capital in 21st Century. I'm not a purist. Like, I can't sit down with a big, heavy, dense text like that and just read. Like, you know what I mean? Like, having the audiobook helped. The audiobook helped me to get through both of those books. And it did take me months to get through Piketty's Capital as well in the 21st century. I've read a lot of Hegel, and Hegel was a precursor to Marx. A lot of Hegel's work is reflected in Marx. Like, you can see where Marx gets a lot of his ideas from when you go back and read Hegel. And I fell in a Hegelian hole a few months ago where I just was reading and researching Hegel constantly, because I found him so fascinating. I wanted to dive deeper into his Strange philosophy. Interesting philosophy. Yeah, they're just assholes. Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. If the solution isn't that everyone gets their needs met, oh, you have 2 audios on YouTube. But am I streaming to 2 places? Yes, the father of the master-slave dialectic. Yes, absolutely. Absolutely. And I actually, when I was going through a really depressive episode, and I will say this as well to people, like philosophy was first all about self-help. So, sometimes it is really good to read some philosophy to help get your mind right with things. I actually wrote so many notes down about Hegel because where's my notebook? Where's my notebook where I could refer to the things that I was writing down about Hegel? It's over there in the desk in the other room. But some of the stuff that I was kind of I was dealing with at the time when this was all going on is it was sort of, when you feel like you've constantly, like I was in this relationship for 13 years where I'd constantly been playing the right role. I'd been playing the right part, the part that I was assigned, and I was doing all of the things that I was supposed to be doing, and the earth fell out from under me. And I was like, so if I'm doing all the things I'm supposed to be doing and it all went tits up again, like it's gone tits up so many fucking times for me in the past, and I finally thought I had some stability, and it's all just gone tits up again. Like I'm going to lose this house now. Like that's just a fact because my ex-husband cheated on me again, again. I just kind of felt like, and I was in a really weird sort of place, and I was reading a lot of Hegel, and I was reading Rousseau as well at the time. And I think the ideas about who we are as an individual and what it means to try and grow as an individual and what it means when we get closer to, that idea of where we fit into society and like accepting, I don't know, like his ideas about the Geist and how I've got to get my notebook because I honestly could talk about Hegel for hours, and I probably shouldn't because I'll bore people to bloody death. But I did find it very interesting. Morning. Yeah. Nice and bright and early. Nice and bright and early. I wasn't getting up. This was not going to happen any earlier than this today. I don't know if anyone wants to hear this, but I have had a shit of a morning. I've had a shit of a night, didn't sleep. So but we're here now. It's fine. A random guy just winked at me on the train. Just stare at him. Just like dead-eyed stare at him. Like this. Or even better. Do I look scary? Do I look scary? I was going to say, which Becker? I've been reading James Becker, The Reason That Communism Failed, and I found that interesting. Punch him in the face and kick him in the balls. Yeah. Kick his balls into his thoughts. That's a long way to kick his balls. Kick his balls right up into his thoughts. I like it. I'm not opposed to the plan. It's just far more specific. Oh, throat. Sorry, I thought you were saying thoughts, and I'm like, he's going to kick it right into his thoughts. Like, I do like the specificity, though. Becca's denial of death. Oh, see, this is why I need to figure out how I can do this on here as well, because I cannot, and my glasses are over there. I cannot. Yeah. I think it's one of those things that you have to, I don't know, I find sometimes with reading philosophy, sometimes it's easier to read backwards for people to figure out how it got that way. I think reading Plato off the cuff, like when I first started, like it was very much, obviously, uni, you start with Locke and Hume and who's the other one who I forgot about almost immediately because he's just so pointless to remember. Yeah, Becca's denial of death. Yes. Yes. Yes, sorry. Oh, God, I'm having two different conversations. I was scary. Oh, good. I wanted to be scary. I just wanted to be a little bit scary. Not like, I'm envious how well read you guys are. My brain doesn't have the capacity. How do I put this? I am massively anxious and depressed and don't do anything else. So you're out in public on the train and shit. Like, I could never. I don't even have a train where I live. That's how much I could never. For causal. Oh, yeah. 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 I think he had quite an impact on Nietzsche, didn't it? Not Nietzsche. Dostoevsky. He was wasn't he? I'm just trying to remember from like the 3 Dostoevsky novels I have actually read, which The Idiot's my favorite. Saying it, I know it's not anybody else's, but The Idiot's my favorite, and I just. Oh, Matthew McConaughey has a fun story about his time in a cult family in Australia. Interesting. Interesting. Do we want to talk about, I was going to say, what was I talking about just a second ago? I was talking about something. What book was I talking about that I was about to get really excited about? Oh, The Idiot. You're allowed your view, but you're wrong. Okay. I just like pronouncing Kant the way that it sounds in German. Yes, our dearest Kant. I do think it's hilarious too whenever Natalie Wynn's doing a video and she mentions cunt and she specifically makes it sound exactly like an Aussie saying cunt. Like there's no can't. I'm saying can't. Don't block me. Don't block me. TikTok, don't block me. Okay, so I'm going to get it up for you. Oh, I did. You know how you've got to type it out so that you know how to spell it? I typed it correctly. Dostoevsky, Dostoevsky. And The Idiot being my favorite Dostoevsky novel. And one of the things I found really, really, really fascinating about The Idiot, I love in the second part. In the second part, he's telling the story of like this kid's talking to this old guy, and he just brings up this really interesting story. And I was so fascinated by when he brought it up that I actually looked into it. The Idiot is so tism coded. Yes, it is. Yeah. Good taste. You've got good taste. It is. It is so tism coded. His simplicity and the way that he wanders through the world is so tism coded. But there's this scene where he's talking to this old guy and he's telling him about, like, they're having a conversation and it's almost done. And honestly, the first time I was reading it, I was like, is he doing this on purpose? Like, is he changing the subject on purpose to try and distract this guy? Like, he's trying to hide who he is? Is he hiding something? Like, what's going on here? But no, that's not it at all. He's just, caught up in different topics and a little bit ADHD and like all over the place a little bit. But he's telling the story. He's using this analogy of a person who loses hope slowly but surely over time. Like you never really lose a hope completely. Even if someone's murdered, hanging them wouldn't be a fair offense because even in those last moments, you'd still have the hope of being saved. Whereas being sentenced to the hangman was a death sentence. There was no getting out of that. And so he was sort of saying that must be 10 times worse. There's no way that hanging can match the crime of murder because it must be so much worse to not have any hope. Like the complete absence of hope has to be a worse punishment than even the crime of being murdered. And I thought of this analogy in terms of climate change, in terms of the way that some people feel like there's still hope and others don't, and just about that whole, obviously he was not thinking in terms of this at all at the time, but it made me look into what he was thinking of. And also he went through this experience. He was charged, he was tried, he was sentenced to be hanged. He thought he was going to the hangman's noose, and then he got a reprieve and he, had to just do hard labor instead. But this was something that he'd lived through, he'd experienced it. So for him, he really grappled with that. Like he'd really grappled with the idea that he was going to die imminently. And for me, that made the whole reading of the novel so much more interesting, that he'd been through that just before writing this novel. And it was kind of his, and the time that he spent toiling while he was incarcerated gave him this like come to Jesus moment where he kind of decided that it was better to believe in it, even if it wasn't true, because it led to betterment of people overall. Like people tend to behave better when they believe in God versus when they don't. So even if you don't think there is a God, it is still a generally good thing to believe in him and to promote a belief in him because it benefits society. That was kind of where Dostoevsky landed on the whole God thing. He had a complicated relationship with faith. He went back and forward on it a lot. The way people respond to him as well. Yeah. The way people respond to him. Yeah. And they do. Everyone's kind of really distrustful of him at first and they're not sure what's going on with him. And I've had that as well. I've had people do that to me. People being like, surely you're out to get something. Surely you're up to something. Like, why? Like, I've had people that I've met and I've been like, oh my God, you remind me of my sister so much. And I bonded with this girl over this. Bonded with her so hard because she reminded me of my sister. And after we'd known each other about a year, she turned around and said to me, I honestly was like, what is this girl's angle? Because that's a trick that con artists will sometimes try and do. They'll try and be like, oh my God, you remind me of someone, like, and getting close with you, especially because I was talking about being homesick and how, like, she wasn't like my sister even really in appearance. It was just in attitude. Like, she was just sitting there just like, and I was like, fucking, that is my sister. That is my sister to a fucking T. Like, that is her attitude and all. Like, just no shit's given. And I was homesick at the time. And so I'd said that to her. And anyway, it was completely my experience of corporate law. Yeah. I do write, actually. I have written quite a lot in my time. I've written a fair bit, fiction, non-fiction, a whole lot of different stuff. I actually went so far as getting a novella published when I was much younger under a different name that I no longer go by. And it's no longer in print because that's how, like, none of an event it was. But, little feather in my cap. That was like, 20. I hate shit. Fuck, I'm old. Do you publish online now or just do social media stuff? It's mainly the social media stuff. At the moment, most of my writing work is taken up in the policy space. So rewriting policy, writing submissions. I do a lot of submission writing these days. That's what most of my writing is taken up by, just doing applications for funding and submissions to governments to change policy. That's most of my energy goes into those two things. Oh, yes. Yeah, it's like the only argument in favor of God. Yeah. Nihilism feels good when walking along a beach alone. Fair enough. It's a lot of do the right thing just because all the good thing practice makes the world better. The issues where people in power misuse that for their benefit as a control mechanism. Absolutely. And I actually don't believe that necessarily having a belief in God is a net benefit. I actually think that a belief in a God is a tool that a society uses to get to a certain point in development, and then it is no longer useful. And then it becomes an anchor around the foot of development. It becomes an anchor around the ankle. The ankle, since we're so into ankles, of progress. And I mean societal progress, not like technological advancement and things. Absolutely not. One of the void countermeasures. We are in the 90s. We will always be in the 90s. Yeah. And I do think one of the other problems as well is that so many people want to do the right thing by their society when they are in that society. This is the thing that I think a lot of people don't realize. Politicians aren't going to the local grocery store. None of the wealthy and elite are going and doing their own grocery shopping. They're not going and filling up their own cars. They're not, like, none of them have had to put a tank of petrol in their car in forever. They have people that do that for them. Like, I know of a particular politician whose name I will not mention because, you know, I don't want to be just dissing, but they have a parking space. They've got a federal fucking car, federal fucking plates in the car. They don't pay for it at all. They've got a driver. Again, don't pay for it all. All the petrol and everything's paid for. And they've got a parking space set aside for them in Perth City whenever they're there that they don't have to pay for either. Like, they don't pay for fucking anything. When you get to that level, you don't pay for anything. And that's what people, I don't think, realize. They're like, these guys know more than you. These guys aren't living it. They're not in the trenches. They're not experiencing what we're experiencing every day. The expert class are so genuinely selfish. Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah. I'm a big believer in self-governance. I'm very much a big believer in self-governance. And I also think that, you know, people say constantly, if we only did things because of greed and the profit motive, if that was the only motivation that human beings had, if we wanted to tap in to one motivation of human beings that they had, why would we choose their worst impulses? Why would we choose their worst impulses? Because the majority of us are out here going, why is it? Like, all through COVID, you all were telling us all how we were frontline workers and how we were, you know, foundational and necessary, and we were, what was the word? Essential fucking workers. But those essential workers can't buy a house because even if their income is high enough, which my income was high enough, but my job was casual, the casualization of my work. That was the problem. Didn't matter that I'd been getting regular shifts for over a year. Because my job was casual, it wouldn't get me a mortgage, regardless. Essential frontline workers that we're saying are fucking, you know, so central to our economy can't afford rent. They can't afford housing. And people out there saying things like, you know, go and get a uni degree, go and put the effort in. No, you should, with any job in this country, with any full-time job, you should be able to afford to support yourself. Maybe not in luxury, but any job that you have should be able to provide you with the basics that you need to support yourself. And we should have enough of a safety net that the unemployed are also not starving. Like, nobody in this country, the fact that we have, because of the cost of housing, we have, and more than half the houses this related to, more than half of them had more than one working person in the household in employment. Okay. 2/3 of Australian children are food insecure in this country. Like, oh, even old mates in charge of the Greens being all, I'm a renter, like, fuck you are, your rent is paid for. Yeah. Yeah. And honestly, this is also what's really frustrating as well, because even when he's sitting there and he's going, you know, I'm a renter like you all, yeah, you still don't have anywhere near the same pressures we do, and you're earning over $200,000 a year. Like, you're earning over double what the average Australian income is. Sorry, did we not all know that? Did we not all know that our federal politicians were earning over $200,000 a year? Was that not common knowledge? If I just dropped a bomb there, and I got a pay rise recently, don't forget. 4% pay rise. Yeah, it's in the Constitution. They get to decide their own salaries. And they only tell the percentage increases on here. They don't tell you what the starting rate is. Here we go. The base salary is $207,000 a year. Let me just screenshot this. And there's also all of these other like parliamentary remuneration things on here as well. There's all these other like things they get to claim for. And they've announced increases for public offices in different jurisdictions. So, yeah. So in 2017, from 2017 it went up to $203,000 per annum. As of 2022, it was $217,000 a year. Yeah. And they'll be taking bribes as well. Yep. $200,000 a year these people are earning. And they own multiple properties. They get all the kickbacks. Their friends in high places are taking them out and wining and dining them and giving them all kinds of, like, when people, the reason the salary is so high is to try and discourage that shit. But again, when you are building your entire system, oh, sorry, I'm not even on the chat. Sorry, I was getting caught up in reading. Let me just share the screen. Here we go. So this is on the 13th of June 2022, the tribunal made an increase of 2.75% for public officers in its jurisdiction, which is all federal members, MPs, members of parliament. The tribunal gave effect to this increase, and the state base salary increased up to $217,000. So they casualised teaching positions at uni. Yes, absolutely. I had a casual teaching position. I had a fucking casual teaching position marking papers. People are like, oh, you taught at university? No, I was a slave at university. The pay is absolutely ridiculous. You basically have enough time to read and honestly, other tutors were telling me this. They were saying to me, read the intro, read the outro, like skim the rest of it, give them a mark based on their topic sentences. Literally. Like, no wonder I got such good marks. I'm good at an introductory line. I know how to catch people's attentions. This is before any benefits. And they get a lifetime of pensions. Absolutely. And look what happened. Mark McGowan left office, went straight into like 6 other placements that he's got on different boards, all having salaries ranging from $100,000 to $300,000 a year. And he is still allowed to collect his pension. Despite the fact that he's earning all of this money by working in the private sector, he is still allowed to collect. And again, the pension was to try and stop politicians from doing exactly what they're all fucking doing and getting into lobbying. The pension was to be like, you don't have to work anymore. You don't have to try and meet other business interests. You're not supposed to be using, the Celtic solution. It's similar to the French solution, isn't it? I've heard. Stop whining. Stop whining, he says. Yeah, dinner with McGowan was 12K ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Stop whining, says the numpty who's in my chat and my live, where I get to decide the topics. And I can whinge about whatever the fuck I want. Yep, Gladys went straight to Optus. Her and Mark McGowan are now working together. Liberal and Labor coming together on policy finally. Too bad it's for a private company and not for the welfare of our country. But no, the private company will get the benefit of their collaboration. Don't worry. Yep, they're all just absolute pieces of shit. They are absolute pieces of shit. And the idea that $200,000 would not be enough for you, like I'm sorry. Even if I only had one 3-year term in the Senate, one 6-year term in the Senate, sorry. Even if I had one 6-year term in the Senate or one 4-year term in the House of Reps, I'd have this house paid off. That's it. That's all I need to do. Then I'm debt-free again. All I need to do is pay off this house and I'm debt-free again. And I've always been debt-free. Until I bought this house, I did not have any debt because, most of them are professionals on high salaries before they enter politics. Yeah, most of them most of them enter politics because, you know, they're already rubbing shoulders at these events. They already know all the people that they need to know. And it's just, the truth is I'm tired. A few years later has 4 private sector jobs. Yep. And he's still collecting his pension. He's still collecting his government pension. I have a particular bee in my bonnet over the treasurer, Jim Chalmers. His essays send me. Yeah. I don't think there's ever been no, I've got a big sign above my head that says "See the Good," and I'm just looking at it right now because it's like I've got to remind myself every now and then. But it does actually make me feel, yeah, huge numbers as lawyers. And again, we all remember Malcolm Turnbull having to specify, you know, well, we put 1.7 million of our own money, which is quite a lot of money, in case you weren't aware. Because it's not for us, obviously. 1.7 money is not that much money. Otherwise, I wouldn't have had it hanging around just to throw into my re-election campaign, Mr. Turnbull. Fucking Malcolm Turnbull and his $1.7 million, which is quite a lot of million. Yeah. It's quite a lot of money, yeah? Like 1.7 is a lot of money, yeah? Just in case. Just in case we weren't aware. Like, yep, just remembering Turnbull's 1.7 mil. Oh, we had to give him 1.7 of our own money. Sometimes I have these moments where I just can't believe the state of things. It is. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. And I think the public, I didn't realize, I forgot 1.7 was a lot. Thank God that Turnbull was there to remind us that $1.7 million is quite a lot of money, or I wouldn't have known. I would have forgotten. I would have forgotten how little money I have in my bank account right now. I would have forgotten that Centrelink has, for some reason, decided to just knock $500 off the top of my pension. So I'm going to be I've got to try and figure out where I'm getting that money from, which, I mean, I'm getting by. Don't get me wrong, I'm getting by. But I'm not at all going to sit here and pretend that I'm swimming in it. Like, you know, I couldn't fucking afford to get my tires fixed without y'all's help. So, like, I'm not swimming in it. So, yeah, losing $500 from my pension was bad. Absolutely. I mean, it was the entire pension. Like, I think I get $17 or something now, which is just great. Just great. Is 1.6 not a lot, though? I don't think 1.6 is a lot because he did specify that 1.7 was a lot, but he didn't say anything about 1.6. Unfortunately, this is the way they designed it to work. Unfortunately, it's working exactly as intended. It's working exactly as designed. It's just, unfortunately, we didn't get a say in the designing of it. That's almost a house in Sydney. Tell you what, it's half of the commune. We should, let's go and, yeah, $20 is a lot of fucking money. Fucking, isn't it? I was talking earlier about reminiscing about the days when I had a spare $50, and so I decided to spoil myself by buying like an album or something that I look at on my shelf and go, if I hadn't bought you, I'd have enough to pay for my water bill right now. It's not the album's fault that I used to have money and now I have none, okay? Stop shaking your fist at Peach PRC. She did not do this. It's not her fault. She's doing all the right things. Oh, but yeah, the frustrating thing though is that they design the system to suit them, which means that they get these great salaries and there's nothing to stop them. The revolving door of politics. We never finished watching episode 3 either. I don't think I could stomach it. Well, they're all releasing their songs in albums again. So it could be a very new album that I've only just bought. Like, how do you know? I know. It is so disappointing to me as well because I got to say I would have liked Beyonce's new album on vinyl. I would have liked to be listening to Cowboy Carter on vinyl. I just think I just think there are some experiences. Ah, Stephen, what are you doing? Stephen. Thank you, Stephen. Don't you need to be doing that. Stop that. Stop. Stephen. You're a sweetheart. Don't do that. Oh, hey. Oh. Yeah, once Canadians work out how poor they are, they'll revolt for sure, for sure. Stephen, that was very sneaky. That was very sneaky, Stephen. Stephen just filled my entire flipping, what do you call it, TikTok goal, because he's a dag. Just bought me 62 bunches of roses. It's very sweet. It's very sweet. Then comes in with, oh, hey, someone out here is playing it, hey? Yeah, I know. It is fucking expensive. Yeah. No, weirdly, CDs haven't changed in price. I think it's because everyone stopped buying CDs. I think maybe they were just like, no one wants these things anymore. Why are we still making them? But yeah, vinyl, ugh. I'm just going to look up how much it would be if I wanted to buy the vinyl. $40. Am I still sharing my screen? Ah, $75 for the vinyl. $75 for the vinyl. Get nicked, get wrecked. Yeah, but there is only like 2 plants that print CDs. It's true. Screen gone. Oh, the screen is gone. Okay. No worries. All good. You embarrassed me, Stephen. You're embarrassing. We're all over on Twitch. We're all come hang out with the cunnies. We're all over on Twitch. We're all over on you still have VHS cassettes. I have a few of those hanging around. Because I inherited, of course, from my parents. I wouldn't have VHC cassette tapes. I don't know what you're talking about. I had bedknobs and broomsticks on cassette tapes for years. I don't have one of those anymore. I do no longer have a VCR department. I no longer have a VCR department. Oh, it's annoying. Oh, I just saw that I had the source up again for how much these people are making. Like, and do you know how frustrating it is? Do you know how frustrating it is for their staffers who are earning on average $70K a year? Like, I don't doubt Peter Cradlin was always earning a lot more than that. People in their roses. Oh, there he is. The roses are very sweet. And my phone is about to die. So you're about to lose the TikTok. And I didn't want to lose you. I have a DVD player and I have an entire box set of Disney DVDs that I inherited from my again, from my mother. From my mama. Thank you to my mother. Yeah, old school. But yeah, imagine how annoyed, how pissed off would you be as a member of their team when you're doing all that fucking work? Like their policy person, their social media person, their chief of staff, they have to travel with them as well. So you're also traveling. You're also having to go and stay. You know, you only have a certain amount of what do you call it, allowance for travel. And you have to pay out of pocket and then get it reimbursed as well. And like, they get business class flights. They get access to the lounge. The people who work for them don't. They're all sitting on the sidelines getting none of this fucking shit. Yeah. What is okay, let's do a quick share this tab instead. Let's do a quick. How do I Google search that though? How do I Google search? I've got the Parliament up on the other screen. What? Single with no children, you get $1,400 a month. Single with no children, you get $14.53.50 a month. So yeah, that's the max job seeker rate. It doesn't even break 20 grand. You don't even earn enough. You don't even earn enough to pay tax on the highest job seeker rate. $17,000 a year versus $200,000. Not even getting a tenth. Not even getting a tenth. Not even getting a tenth. $17,000 a year versus $217,000 a year. They earn $200,000 a year over and above what those on the New Start, the job seeker, earn. Oh. And do you know what? It's not even like you can get $3 grand like a fortnight. Sorry, is that a fortnight or a month? Oh, no, that's a fortnight. Sorry, I misread it. So double that. So they're making like $34,000 a year. So still 10%. They are earning $34,000 a year. So they do earn enough to pay tax. Your payments will cancel when your assets are more than the following amounts. So, okay. Yeah, the social circumstances definitely need an overhaul. Okay. Let me just lay this out for you because I didn't realize this until right now. Oh, hey guys. I didn't realize this until just now. We've just been talking about MPs' earnings versus New Start job seeker rates and things. So if you own your own home and you lose your job, you don't qualify for job seeker. You don't qualify for job seeker as a single person if you have more than $300,000 in assets. Non-homeowners can have over $200,000 more in assets. Non-homeowners can have $543,000. Hey. But homeowners can only have $300,000. If you're part of a couple, it goes up to $450,000. Now, my house would be worth more than that. And I'm living out in the middle of nowhere in a small town. Well, I shouldn't say small town, but I'm living regional. My house would be more than that. There is not going to be a single person in the metro area whose house is going to be worth less than that. So once you own a home, if you lose your job, you no longer get job seeker. Like you're expected to sell your home. What are they doing? This doesn't make any sense. Oh, absolutely. 100%. It does not make any sense. I just got the sound then like someone was joining me, but no one popped in. Did someone pop into the studio and I didn't see it? I didn't catch it. I just got the beep that someone had entered the studio. All good. No, it's fine. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Like, yeah, they actually admitted a few weeks ago that they don't do this and that they're getting paid for placements by the tax burden for not once placing people. Yep. Absolutely. So I also know that they put people in different streams. So they'll put you in like an A, B, or C stream. A stream is the people who are like will easily find jobs. They tend to just ignore them and be like, they'll get there on their own. The B people, they will actually, like the A people they'll put resources into, but they'll focus on the B people trying to get them jobs. The C people, even though you're assigned to a jobs program because you're supposed to get a job because otherwise your papers can get cut off, permanent peasant class, absolutely the goal. Absolutely. Anyone who doesn't believe it isn't paying attention. Forgot what I was saying then. Just completely went out of my mind. I get too easily distracted. This is why I should not be in charge, honestly. So people who are placed in that C stream that they deem are in the C stream. So not someone that Centrelink's put in the C stream, not the government hasn't decided you're in the C stream. The individual workplace employment service provider you've been assigned to will put you in the stream, and they won't even try with C streams. Multiple agencies have admitted that they just don't have the resources to try and help people in the C groups get jobs. But these people are still expected to do their hours, and they're getting less support to help them do it. By do their hours, I mean go out there and do the work of trying to find a job. Like the busy work we give to people just to make sure we're not giving them money for nothing, because we have to punish the poor people or we're not allowed to give them money. Like we have to punish the poor people before we're allowed to give them anything. That's how it goes. That's the rule. Oh, I don't know how anyone listens to me for more than 10 minutes. It's so depressing. Any hoozle. Yeah. And what makes me laugh so much, because my ex actually works at one of these jobs type places, provider places, is that like they do not have any more skills or ability than the people over the other side of the table than them, really. Like they're just being hired to fill a job and push their KPIs through. And that's what most of these, like the privatization of our social services is just because these people aren't there to help you. They're there to tick boxes and fill numbers. And I worked in one of these programs. I actually worked in the Thrive program, which if you look it up, the Thrive program was the Department of Housing's program that was specifically designed to help people who are at risk of losing their tenancies, help maintain them. I left that after a year and went to another program that was doing the same thing, because I realized very quickly that, well, there was one client who actually is no longer with us anymore as a direct result of what Department of Housing were doing at the time. Like, I will say that. I believe that the reason this client is no longer with us is because they wouldn't listen to all of the warnings that this person was at risk of hurting themselves because of the pressure that was being put on them. But it wasn't about helping the person. It didn't matter how much I pushed back against them. It was never about helping the person. It was about ticking off the boxes and ticking the KPIs. And like I'd come in and they'd say, you will go around there and you will get him to, like, we need you to go around there and we need to get this room emptied out. And I'm saying, well, this person is dealing with a long-term 10-year history of hoarding. I've had him for 10 minutes and he's already made comments and concerns around the fact that he might take his own life. And a psychologist who has reviewed him has advised us that this is a serious threat, that this is not, that he means this when he says that this is suicidal ideation is what we're dealing with. And then that's what ended up happening. And it was unfortunately after I'd left the program and I couldn't do it anymore. And I don't know how that person was treated after I left, but I know that they're no longer with us. And again, these government programs are all about box ticking for the government. They don't give a shit. Like, it's not about doing the right job by the people. It's about ticking the boxes and getting the boxes ticked. And unfortunately, that's not how you actually make societal change. I was connected to a job provider organization, while I was employed. I was employed. I was studying, I was working, and I had 2 kids, and I was a part of a job provider arrangement, and they wanted to withdraw my child from daycare and take myself out of uni for the day to take her to rhyme time at the library to help fulfill my parenting, like, quota, like what I had to do for parenting. And I was like, how is this relevant to helping me get a job, first of all? What is this for? Like, what? And then I realized that I was on the special, you have told us you're an Indigenous person list. We're going to assume that you're also a bad parent, and we're going to call you and ask how you're coping with your kids constantly. And we're going to send you to this fucking childhood nurse like 20 times and force you to get health checkups or risk cutting off your payments every 6 months. Like I had to go and get checkups for my kids while I was on that program. I had to go and get health checkups for my kids and submit them. And they did, like a couple of times, like I'd submit them and it wouldn't flag the thing on the other end to tell them I'd submitted it. And so my payments would just get cut off. So how am I paying rent now? I work at a bar. Yeah. Great. I'm in uni full time with 2 kids. And they just cut my payments. So it didn't matter that I'd done all of the tasks that they gave me to do, because again, we have to punish poor people before we give them anything. Doesn't matter that they're a human being deserving of dignity. Yeah. No. Yeah. Absolutely. They wanted me to step out of an exam to take a phone call, because they were going to be calling between 10 and 12 and I had to answer the phone call, and I had an exam, and so I was not answering the phone. And then afterwards, when I answered, like afterwards when I finally got the call, when I finally got back in touch with them, and they were like, well, you have to answer those calls. If you don't answer those calls, I said to them, I was in a uni exam and I told you guys I would be. I said I wasn't available. There was no option for me to schedule another time. And they said, well, it's really like these calls just can't be rescheduled. Like and I said to them, I don't get to control when you call, and you can't control what my schedule looks like previously. Like, what if I was, in surgery, because it was the only time my surgeon could get me in for surgery? Like, I know you don't respect my time, but surely you respect other people's time, the time of the other people in society who are, contributing members of society, unlike me and my poor unwashed ass who's just out here still spending my money and paying my rent and feeding my kids and doing all the things that you need to do, like still contributing to society, just not in the right way. And I still hate that. The amount of times people, if you want a house, get a job. I have a house, but you shouldn't need a house to have a job. It should just be guaranteed that everyone has a house. That should just be a guarantee. There shouldn't be any caveats needed to shelter, like food, water, shelter. They're the top 3 basic necessities. We all agreed. We all said, yep, they're the basics. No caveats. No if, buts, and maybes. Like, we fucking even pay for water in this country. Like, we pay for water. No one gets free water. We pay for water. Unless you trap it with a rain barrel or a tank. I've got a 3,000 litre tank out there. Pretty handy. But anyway, point being, they've managed to figure out how to charge us for literally fucking everything. Everything. Soon they'll be charging us for the air we breathe. Sorry, tirade over. Ridiculous thing is if they doubled the dole and got everyone into 25% housing rate and ended all the provisions, more people would be employed. Absolutely. And it would be so much cheaper. It would be so much cheaper. This is what blows my mind as well. We could house everyone with all the wraparound supports they would need, because you would still need to supply wraparound supports for people who were, going into houses for a variety of different things. But we could give everyone a home, provide the wraparound supports and services, and provide the means to help with things like maintenance, just for people who even do own their own home but aren't able to afford with the upkeep and stuff. Like, we could have programs that help with that kind of thing, that help people with that. And it would cost less than what we're spending just in housing at the moment, because of all of the money that we have that goes straight into the pocket of developers. It goes straight into the pockets of organizations. It doesn't go... Yeah, you're also not allowed to trap too much rainwater. Yep, that's also apparently a problem. Where I am, I don't think it's as much of a problem, but yep. Plenty of places where it is. Absolutely. That reminds me, actually, I've got to turn my sprinklers off. Don't let me forget to turn my sprinklers off, chat. They'll start going off again in 3 hours. I forgot to turn them off the other night, remember? And they stopped going off before I managed to get up and turn them off. So, yummy, microplastics and chlorine. Yep. We're paying for that shit too. Oh, God almighty. Did we want to keep, I was going to say, did we want to, because I did remember we didn't finish watching that. Did we want to finish it, or are we going to leave it there for today? Because I'm going to be honest. I know we've only been going out for 2 hours. I know we've only going to be going out for 2 hours, but I am actually pretty wrecked. And again, like I think I mentioned earlier, well, I didn't mention this earlier. I haven't eaten yet. I haven't eaten since Monday. I just did not feel well. Yesterday. Sorry, trigger warning for anyone who has any sort of, issues with eating and stuff. Go have a break, since we're all broken. We all be broken today. Yeah, so I haven't eaten. I need to go and eat, and I didn't sleep last night. I could not, I was telling Kim earlier the lovely story of me waking up with my blinds open with a lovely big window out the tree and hearing the bird calls as the sun lifted up and watching out the window and being like, oh, fuck. Yep, I'm going to have to get up soon and I haven't even fallen asleep yet. Insomnia. Fuck yeah. It just picks. It just rears its ugly head. You know, every now and then it just really rears its ugly head. So, yes. And I got to go turn off my sprinklers. Yes, thank you. I got to go turn off my sprinklers. Yes. One last question. Modern monetary theory. I do think that modern monetary theory has a lot of good things going for it, definitely. I think a lot of these things like modern monetary theory, donut economics, a lot of them are, again, we're trying to put a Band-Aid on a system that is completely failing. And modern monetary theory is just basically a new spin on the old failing system. While, again, like if you want to do some piecemeal, bit by bit progress, which is all you're going to get in the current government, then excellent, awesome. Yeah. There you go. And as I said, I do think there are some things in it that are beneficial and worth looking at and worth taking away. But yeah, definitely for the most part, it's just more of the same capitalist propaganda. You could tell I was trying to be tactful there, being like, I'm not going to shit all over it, but not necessarily the biggest fan. I do think that modern monetary theory pays a lot more attention to how things are in actuality than the theory. I feel like Keynesian economics is just far too enmeshed in the theory of it all to really be helpful for us. You know, yeah. And even I think even Blakely falls into this a little bit in some of her writing with the assumptions that, like, I mean, I shouldn't say that. I shouldn't say that about Blakely's work, but I think there's a lot from these economists. A lot of these economists seem to think that, like, I don't know, here's the key that's going to unlock all of the issues that we've had and going to make things so much simpler. And I just keep thinking, or we could just get rid of money. Yeah, we do live in complete la la land now. I do think yeah, he did, but a lot of his advice for how to deal with it was just not it, wasn't it? Like a lot of the stuff. Okay, I will say, his whole bonds thing for a way of like tackling inflation, much better than what we're doing at the moment, where we just hike up interest rates. Like he had some ideas, he had some thoughts. It wasn't all bad. I'm not going to lie. Like he had some stuff going for him. Probably why he's so popular. What I missed, lol. I'm just signing off. I'm just doing a very, very long sign off right now. It's all made up. Absolutely, it's all made up. It's all made up. But yeah, I feel like especially when you learn enough about historically how the economy has worked and you start seeing, and again, because I'm coming at it more from a political science, sociological point of view, so I'm more looking at, and I do more look at it through the lens of, well, the nation state is a very modern concept, a very new invention. The idea of a nation state and the idea of economic levers to be pulled in any which way is a very new thing anyway. So it's all very... I feel like it lacks a lot of the understanding that, and Piketty does talk on this a little bit, and so does Blakely, I've got to admit. But the fact that for so long we did not have any kind of economic structure, a political economy. We didn't have a political economy, and we got along perfectly fine, and we managed for like ever, like. As a species, we got to where we are, like not right here today, but where we are today, we have to accept a step back in our situation of living. Like we have to accept that our standard of living that we have today in the, you know, Western Christian English speaking world is far and above what we would need 5 Earths for everyone on this Earth to live the standard we do. So we have to be willing to accept a step back in our living conditions. People say this all the time. Well, if you owned a house, you wouldn't be willing to take a price cut. I do own a house, and I am willing to take a price cut because I understand, like, I'm willing to take the L on this whole fucking thing. Like, I don't fucking care. Tell me I don't own it anymore. It's now community property and I'm living with another family, but I don't have to pay a mortgage anymore. Don't fucking care. Will not fucking care. Because it will also be there's another family with a home now, right? Like, I'm unfortunately in the situation right now where I'm housing another family. But anyway, people are living in tents all over the fucking place. Like, people are living in tents in my fucking backyard, guys. Like, I can't get over how bad the situation is. And how everyone just keeps acting like it's not and keeps telling us just to work harder. Like, you know what I mean? You know what I mean? Am I just... Anyway, I'm rambling. I'm sorry. I can't help it. I get to this point and I'm just like, oh, and there's no need because there are more empty houses than homes in this country. Yeah, exactly. And if we... No, you're all good. And if we took away the need for people to have to earn an income to pay a rent or earn an income to feed their families, like, suddenly it doesn't matter so much where the houses are, right? And I think that's the frustrating thing is when you can see, and again, because, like, I live in a community where this still happens, right? I live in a community where this still happens. I live in a community where, you know, like, someone's mum's in hospital up in Perth, and so people are lending, like, my car's gone at the moment. Someone had to take my car for the week to drive up Perth. Like, I just live in a community where that happens already as a part of, like, a member of the Indigenous community. Like, I go to my mum for healing first still, like, always, you know, like, she's got the natural remedies that do a better job than you can get over the counter anyway. My sister does my hair for me. Haven't done it in over, like, 3 years, but it's fine. I don't need it done. I don't get it done because I live too far away from it. But, like, my first place to go if I needed anything done would be to go to my community for it, to ask if there was anyone in my community who could help, to see if there was anyone in my community who had those skills. Are you down south? I am down in the southern regions. I tell people I'm like, you know, if you draw a line across the state from Perth, my work covers that region down. So, but I am in Perth. I'll be in Perth actually next week, interestingly enough. There you go, just randomly. But yeah, because I think because for most of my life I've already existed in a community of that sort where that's the sort of thing that you did. Like, my brother was given 3 free cars. My brother, over the course of his life, has had not 1, not 2, but 3 free vehicles given to him by members of, like, because in community, people are like, oh, this kid's got a new job and he needs a car. Like, oh, we've got a spare car. Yeah, give him the keys so that he can have that. Like, so when people say that it's impossible to do it and that people are too selfish and that we couldn't possibly do it and that how's it going to work, I feel like I want to grab their heads and grab them by the ears and say, it's already working. We have to exist outside of the bounds of the system because it is impossible to exist within them. Like, it's impossible to exist within them. So there is already this community happening. Exactly. Each according to their ability, each according to their need. And I think particularly when, like, it just baffles me so much when, again, the people who are most affected by homelessness, who are most affected by food insecurity, who are most affected by the illegal operating of the criminal justice system, those people lived here without any of those issues for thousands of years. For thousands of years, for centuries, people lived in this continent and did not struggle with homelessness. They did not struggle with starvation. Like, the archaeological record shows us that at a comparable time to people living in the Americas and in the British Isles, we had a better diet. We had a better standard of living. We had cures for fucking tooth decay, which is an issue that children in the US are still dying from because of their for-profit healthcare system. Like, we had none of these issues before you all rocked up here 200 years ago. You've managed to turn the place into a shit heap in that 200 years. and my phone died. And you still want to turn around and say to us, like people still want to turn around and say to us that we should be grateful for colonization. They taught white fellas how to wash. They taught them how to hunt. They taught them how to cook. Yes. Yeah. Only thing is that they have to genuinely believe that they might become rich tomorrow, that they might become one of the millionaires tomorrow. But the way I see it is I would much rather have a guaranteed standard of life that was achievable for everyone. I would much rather have a quality of life, have a standard of living that was achievable for everyone in our society, which means, again, I have to accept doing without internet. I have to, not all the time, but internet blackouts, power outages. Those are things that we take for granted. The arguments that we are having right now about the fact that, oh, hang on, I got to go get my charger. Oh, sorry. My booted foot. My poor booted foot. I just got up and walked away. I hope you don't mind. I hope you don't all mind. But when we talk about renewable energy, when we talk about renewables, and you get all these people saying that, we can't use renewables because they're not reliable enough. Get used to not having reliable power. That is going to be our reality. Like soon, if we keep going the way we are, we won't have any power because we're going to be living on a burning fucking wasteland. But get used to not having consistent, reliable power. That is a fact of life for most people living on the planet today. And for the privileged few who it is not a factor, get used to it because it's going to be. We have to accept a lower standard of living. We're going to have to accept. I have to take this side in. This side's just a little bit big and it's causing my sleeve to come off the thing. Ugh. The colonizers actually believed that the Aboriginal people weren't going to survive without them. Like they hadn't been doing it for 60,000 years. Yeah. Do you know what I think is interesting about this mythology? Because where are we? I grew up in a household with a whoops. I grew up with a father who was very much into his get rich quick schemes. So my dad, the biggest mistake my dad did was invest in his brother's company. He blew $300,000 doing that. There we go. He blew quite a lot of money doing that. This was after I'd moved out of house. There was no money when I was in the household growing up, but after I'd moved out, suddenly there was money. No. They got themselves into a bit of a pickle and had to sell their home, which they didn't buy until after I moved out of home. So, that was a house's worth, wasn't it? Yeah. So they had to sell their house and they took that money and they invested it in a business that obviously went tits up. Like my uncle got me to buy shares in this business as well. Long story. Anyway, either way, I knew it was going to go tits up from the beginning. But my dad's just always been obsessed with these get rich quick schemes. Like it's going to, I think what happened, and I'm thinking about it from my autistic father's point of view because he's definitely autistic. He saw his brother doing it. He saw his brother doing these sorts of business things and making money, and he kept going, I want to do something like that too. But he didn't realize his brother was just scamming people. And so then because he didn't realize that the only reason his brother was making money was by scamming people, he also got scammed by his brother. So, but yeah, I just feel like that inoculated me from this idea that it's ever going to happen. Like the fact that I have a house and stability, I'm just like, that's it. Peak. We have arrived. There is nowhere else to go from here. And I think that is going to be how we have to look at it for everyone. Like you've got basic security. Like you've got a house, you've got food, you've got water. Excellent. Awesome. You have spotty internet and power for 20 of the 24 hours a day. That's as good as we can get things to have it that way for everyone. No worries. I'm all up for that. I'm happy with that. I don't mind that at all. Oh my God, off topic, but I just used ChatGPT's voice-to-voice functionality to motivate me to get out of bed, and it works so well. That's why it has to end. The future is here. That is an odd thought. That is definitely an odd thought. How did you use it to get you out of bed, though? How did you use it to get you out of bed? I'm curious now. That's the system from top to bottom. Cheating people out of their worth is the literal basics of capitalism. Yeah, absolutely. And that's the thing. People would just say, well, he just played it smart and your dad played it dumb. Yeah. And this is why my dad has never and will never have any money. And it's why he is still in massive debt, because he didn't pay off any of his debt when he sold the house. Had to sell the house because he got himself in debt and he didn't want the bank coming for it. So he sold it and then spent all the money. I love my parents. 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 They just make me want to vomit. Just make me want to vomit. I just told it to motivate me, and then I had a conversation with it about my day as I got out of bed. Hey, well, you know, what works, works. I won't judge a fellow ADHD or for doing what they need to do to survive through the day. Oh, I want to get up. I want to get up and make myself another cup of coffee. Yeah, same. I get the most ridiculous stuff back from ChatGPT. It has answered questions for me before. Like, it's answered things, and I've been like, but wait, isn't this the case? And I've said like the exact opposite thing. Like, I've corrected it, and it's been like, yes, that's correct. And it answered my question as though it had never said anything previously. And I'm just like, but you just told me the exact opposite. Like, you are not even good as a search feature. Like, because I thought about if I put things in there, like, oh, can you give me a list of authors who talk about terrorism laws in Australia? You know, I thought about things like that where you were asking it to compile information. Then I thought it might be useful for that. You know, if you're just asking it for simple, compile a list of authors who speak on, you know, anti-terrorism legislation in Australia. Yeah, it is at a tribe. But yeah, it doesn't even really seem really good at that. Like, it just kind of gives you the same. Yeah, I don't know. I might play around with it a little bit longer and see. It's good at conversation, is it? I might have to go and see if I can get it to compile. But no, I don't want it to like write anything for me. I want it to compile. Like, I would like for it. What I really would like, if I could get, if I would have had a system like ChatGPT or something even similar to it that would actually help with research, I would like to be able to ask it to give me a list of 10 authors who write specifically about anti-terrorism legislation in Australia between these dates. And then when it gave it to me, I could go, do you mind giving me like a brief snapshot of each of their stands? Like, where do they stand on this legislation? How do they feel about the legislation? Can you give me a quick snapshot, a quick summary of each of these individuals' beliefs on the legislation that they were talking about? Were they critiquing it, you know? And then have it give me like a little 3-line, this guy's coming at it from this point of view, this guy's, and then I could be like, yeah, cool. So when I'm checking out who I want to put in and what opinions I'm you need to look for a lot of different opinions when you're doing this kind of stuff. Like, that kind of stuff, to make sure I was getting a wide diversity of opinions that I could read from, to make sure I wasn't just reading within my, you know, what's it called? Silo. But also just just having a little summary there so you don't have to read the whole thing if it's going to be a pointless text, you know? Having a quick summary that says that, you know, like, I don't know, the poverty of our freedom doesn't actually discuss poverty. It discusses individualism and how individualism robs us of community, and therefore it's not really an economics textbook, even though the title might sound like one. Just, you know, little things like that. Not that I need it to tell me that, but you know what I mean? You know what I mean? And now I'm just losing my mind, guys. Now I'm just absolutely losing my mind. Yeah, I am going to log off. I am going to log off. Thank you all so much for joining me today. We've done the very long goodbye now. The very long goodbye. I feel like we nearly made it to 3 minutes. I was going to try and make it to 3 minutes, but not going to happen today. But I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate the fact that we finally found out what was going on with the damn beards. God almighty. Finally figured out what's going on with the beards. I actually might pop on later tonight. I might text, I'll text the chat and see if everybody's up for it. Blinkist, yeah. See you guys later. I'll put a chat up on the Discord if I'm feeling up for it again later in a few hours once I've gone and had a nap. I'll pop it up on the Discord and let you guys know if I'm planning on going live and discussing anything else. What do we want to discuss next time? Because there was a big no on Jordan Peterson and Destiny's interview, which I understand. It was painful for me to watch. I don't think anyone else should have to endure it as well, especially not if they're not wanting to. It was definitely the sort of thing I felt like I couldn't get away with not reading. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you very much. Yeah, that's true. Nothing else needs saying. And he was just so aggressive in that interview, though. I think that's what. Do you work for lobbyists? I work with the not-for-profit. I work within the not-for-profit sector. Technically, we lobby the government for things. Like, technically, I can lobby the government for things. But the things I'm lobbying the government for are to invest more in public housing and, we did a big thing on water. That was fun. Oh, but yes. All right. I don't know what we're going to talk about next time then. I don't know what do I tease you all with next time, what we're going to be talking about? What do I tease you all with? Yeah. That's true. Absolutely. I would agree with that. For sure. Have I done that already? I think I have. Okay, what is this doing? Oh God, I don't even know what's happening anymore. Far out. All right. We've had it. Failed network error. Oh God, of course. All right. Well, today has been fun. What, the log off again? Something about sprinklers. Yes, sprinklers. Don't forget the sprinklers. No, I was just checking to see, because before I logged off, I wanted to make sure that it makes me wait around for it to finish loading. So I was just checking to see how much loading it had to do before it was going to let me off. But it looks like it's not going to load at all, so I could just get off. That's fine. All right. Tomorrow, Friday, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about Friday? Do you know what? On Friday, we'll talk about the week in politics. I'll have a summary of the week that was. Sprinklers. Don't forget the sprinklers. I'm going to get a call from Belle in about an hour being like, you forgot to turn your sprinklers off, didn't you? Sprinklers. Bristlers. Oh, and don't forget the garlic bread. No, I just mean like in an hour you're going to call me and be like, did you turn off the sprinklers? Sending a voice note right now. That's more typical. Yeah. I'm going to Mama Bell this bitch, and I'm going to remind you right now before you even get offline. Oh, Lordy Lord. All right, I'm logging off, guys. Thank you so much. I'm going to go make myself a coffee. I'm going to go sit down with one of these lovely books that I have to finish reading. I think I might finally finish swallowing my way through Justice by Means of Democracy. I'm about, how far into it am I at the moment? That far into it at the moment? Not very far. Oh my gosh. All good. I'm going to go read that book and maybe we'll talk about that on Friday. All right. That's all I can think to say. I'm pretty sure I don't have to say anything else though, right? Kim, isn't that the rule? Okay. Bye.